Chapter 598. The Dust Settles. The 10-Year Promise. Have them attack the Great Formation head-on. Her mental spirit is limited. Controlling the formation on one hand and transmitting sound to let Lu Changxing and the others break the formation was already her limit. There was no way to command the rest of the people. She could only let them add pressure to the Great Formation. Boom boom boom. The by water azure sky Great Formation of by Lake Mountain, under Ling Zixio's array and everyone's attacks, glowed erratically with spiritual light. The spiritual energy within the formation surged tumultuously, making the entire by Lake Mountain seem to tremble, and the mana within the cultivators was unstable. My spiritual power is out of control. Not good, she's seizing control of the Great Formation. Big brother, what should we do? Ninghu. Panic instantly spread within by Lake Mountain. Everyone looked to Ninghu, waiting for him to make a decisive decision. Although among these people, some were not afraid to die and wished to fight against Lu Changxing and the others. But now the Great Formation had been disturbed and influenced by the opponent, even fighting for control. Continuing this way, they were utterly powerless to fight back, let alone make a last stand. Moreover, within by Lake Mountain, many of the Yu family's side branches and non-surnamed members didn't have deep feelings for the family and didn't want to die here like this. Damn it. Ninghu clenched his fists tightly, his face grim and unsightly. He had never imagined that their family's Great Formation would seem so vulnerable at this moment. He had previously realized that the identity token of the family ancestor was an array token that could impact the Great Formation and that someone could sneak into the family. But he never expected that the opponent would have an array master. Directly using the array token to break the formation with a formation, externally disrupting the operation of their own Great Formation. At this moment, he also guessed how their own family's ancestors had perished. They surely were lured into a killing formation prearranged by the Lu family, and through that formation, their ancestor was suppressed and killed. How ruthless of the Lu family! So well hidden. This time, making Lu Miao break through to foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain was clearly a deliberate ploy to lure our Yu family there. Inside the sleeves of Ninghu, his fists were clenched, veins bulging. He deeply realized that his family had fallen into a trap. To think that he had fallen into the Lu family's hands so easily. And now, the Lu family were demanding by Lake Mountain as compensation, presumably using the moral high ground as an excuse to force his family to comply and to make a move against them. Otherwise, with the current strength of the Lu family, guarding both Qingzhou Mountain and by Lake Mountain would also be difficult. They would have to face the covetous gaze of surrounding hostile families. Lu Changxing, his gaze shifted toward Lu Changxing and Ling Zixio. He knew that these two were the real formidable enemies. One, a second-rank master of the talisman path with many talismans. The other, a second-rank array master, using formations to break formations. Turn. Ling Zixio, dressed in flowing blue robes, tall and graceful, her normally calm and elegant pale face now showing a hint of imperious coldness. As she parted her red lips slightly, the array plate in her hand was thrown out, and in an instant, the array flags all around burst into spiritual light, their energies intertwining, causing the earth's energy within by Lake Mountain to churn and the spiritual energy to shake. Pfft. Not good. She's manipulating our by Lake Mountain Great Formation, seeking to use its power to suppress us. With the spiritual energy inside by Lake Mountain shaking, some Yu family cultivators who were only at the early or middle stages of qi refinement immediately felt turmoil in their qi and blood. Especially those Yu family members whose qi was integrated with the Great Formation were at this moment emitting heavy groans, their breath in disarray, either coughing up blood or feeling oppressed. Such an array technique. Who is this person? How did Lu Changxing come to know such an array master? Ninghu, suppressing the mana and blood in him, revealed a shocked expression in his eyes. Although Ling Zixio's prowess couldn't cause much harm to him as a foundation establishment great cultivator, the ordinary mortals and qi refinement cultivators within the mountain were facing severe injuries. What she said about burying the entire by Lake Mountain with them was not an empty threat. Moreover, as the opponent operated the Great Formation, he could feel Ling Zixio's array might continue to climb higher, seemingly brewing a terribly fearsome strike. If you're still delusional, then don't blame me for overturning your by Lake Mountain, making the whole mountain the burial ground for your decision. Ling Zixio's eyes were as cold as water. Her pale beautiful face at this moment had an indescribable domineering aura, her charisma captivating. This woman isn't an ordinary second-rank array master. Likely she's a high-quality second-rank array master. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, looking at Ling Zixiao, couldn't help but feel a dryness in their throats. They had come into contact with array masters before, having learned some knowledge about the formation path. They knew that Ling Zixio's level was far from ordinary. Her skill level was extremely high. At the same time, they were astonished that Lu Changsheng could form a cultivator pair with such an outstanding woman. Didn't expect Zi Xiao to have such a domineering side. Lu Changsheng, looking at Ling Zixio's unmatched charm, thought to himself. When Ling Zixiao was with him, although it was evident she had some pride, overall she was gentle, dignified, and understood the bigger picture, making her very comfortable to be around. She never showed such an imperious and domineering side. But thinking about it, he could understand. Ling Zixiao, in both cultivation and the formation path, was a prodigy. At a young age, not only had she broken through to foundation establishment, but she was also a second-rank array master. How could such a splendid woman not have pride? It was only because of the dragon roar physique that she had been weak all along, and coming to Jiuxiao Immortal City, she concealed her inner pride. But in Jiuxiao Immortal City, Ling Zixiao had also made quite a name for herself. Now, in the Qingyun region, facing families like the Lu family and the Yu family, she probably had some disdain in her bones. Chapter 599. The Dust Settles. The 10-Year Promise. This situation was somewhat prideful, which was quite normal. Damn it. Big brother. Ancestor. We might as well fight them to the death. The people of Bai Lake Mountain shouted toward Yuninghu, their expressions either anguished and furious or panicked and desperate. Except for a few senior members, most of them only had the cultivation level of the Qi refinement initial or middle stages. Under the might of the Great Formation, the Qi, blood, and spiritual power within their bodies surged turbulently. If this continued, they were certain to die. Now, with the death of their family ancestor and his body suspended before them, and them, facing the enemy, could not even talk of revenge, let alone fight back or resist, how could they not be angry or desperate? Boom boom boom, the by water azure sky Great Formation, under the assault of Ling Zixiao, Lu Changsheng and others, kept making thunderous noises. The dense mists and wandering runes and spiritual lights that enveloped it all dimmed considerably. Under increasingly fierce attacks, the magic aura inside Yuninghu began to surge as well. Looking at his own cultivators and younger generations struggling under the might of the formation, each with pale faces, disordered breaths, and vomiting blood, his face twisted, his fingernails piercing his palms until they bled, he suddenly raised his head and shouted at Ling Zixiao, "Stop! Fellow Daoists, please stop! My Yu family is willing to offer by Lake Mountain as compensation." Yuninga's voice became extremely hoarse. To hand over the ancestral foundation willingly, he was naturally reluctant. But if people are lost without the land, both will be lost. If the land is lost but people remain, both can be kept. As long as the green hills are there, there's no fear of running out of firewood. If today he could bring the other party down with him, he would naturally be willing to risk his life. But now, facing Lu Changsheng and others, they had absolutely no strength to fight back. At most, they could only make the opponent suffer some losses and be seriously injured. Such anger, hatred, and desperation were meaningless. If that's the case, open the formation quickly. Upon hearing this, Ling Zixio's expression was clear and sharp, and he said in a cold voice, "Ninghu, big brother, ancestor." The other Yu family cultivators, hearing these words, all looked toward Yuninghu. Some were sorrowful and furious. Some were relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. I ask my fellow Daoists to make a heart demon oath. As long as my Yu family is willing to offer by Lake Mountain as compensation, let this matter end here. Yuninga's face was filled with bitterness, with unwilling tears in his eyes. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao exchanged glances. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, hearing this, also stopped their assault. Soon, the four made a heart demon oath. They stated that if the Yu family offered all the foundations of Bai Lake Mountain as compensation, the feud between the two families would thus be settled. Open the formation. Seeing that Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao and others had made heart demon oaths, Yuninghu gritted his teeth and shouted loudly at the people. At this moment, even if some were reluctant, they could only follow the order. Boom! The mountain gate grand formation of Bai Lake Mountain was opened. Immediately, Ling Zixiao stopped his assault and took out a second-rank spiritual contract. In Red Leaf Valley, they established a treaty, binding the Yu family to commence the signing of the contract with Yuninghu. It stated that, given their mutual grievances, today the Yu family would offer Bai Lake Mountain as compensation to the Lu family, to Lu Changxing. In return, the Lu family would provide the Yu family with a temporary residence at Shaojing Mountain. The Yu family must reside at Shaojing Mountain for 10 years. During this 10-year period, neither family may attack the other. Additionally, the Yu family must cooperate in transferring all the properties under the name of Bai Lake Mountain. This is impossible. Upon seeing the spiritual contract, the patriarch of the Yu family, Yuning Yuan, immediately exclaimed loudly. Now, by relinquishing Bai Lake Mountain, their Yu family still had hopes of a resurgence, relying on the family's properties. But once all the properties under Bai Lake Mountain were transferred, it would be exceedingly difficult for the Yu family to rise again. Fellow Daoist, isn't this a bit too coercive? Yuninga's expression was ugly as he addressed Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao, unwilling to sign such a contract. Not only does his family have to confine themselves for 10 years, but they also have to cooperate in transferring family properties during these 10 years. It was tantamount to the family relinquishing their animosity and becoming a vassal to the Lu family for 10 years. How could he possibly agree to such a thing? You Daoist friend, you now have no choice, Ling Zixiao said coldly. After speaking, she laughed lightly and added, Of course, we won't be too unreasonable. As long as your Yu family cooperates, we can preserve some of your properties. Sigh. Yuninga's eyes closed tightly as he took a deep breath and exhaled. He knew that at this moment, his family no longer had any negotiating leverage. Eventually, the two parties finalized the contract. If the Yu family cooperates within 10 years, some of their properties can be retained. Regarding the division of properties, those far from Bai Lake Mountain or in some smaller marketplaces would be given to the Yu family. However, properties around the Yu family, like those in the Red Leaf Valley Market and the Nine Dragons Market, would all be transferred under the name of the Lu family. But please grant us some time to relocate. After signing the contract and handing over the control of the family's grand formation, Yuninghu looked completely drained, overwhelmed with weakness. Even though he knew that his actions today were for the sake of preserving the family, it was still difficult for him to face his ancestors after surrendering the family's ancestral lands and foundations on a silver platter. When you relocate, I hope none of you will do anything destructive. After all, from today onwards, Bai Lake Mountain will be the spirit land of my lord husband. Ling Zixiao's pale and delicate features softened their chill, revealing a dignified and elegant demeanor as she spoke softly. However, everyone who saw her demure form and frail appearance dared not underestimate her. My lord husband's spirit land? Upon hearing this, Yuninghu turned to look at Lu Changxing. He suddenly realized that he had misjudged the situation. The Lu family wasn't using the demand for Bai Lake Mountain as a spirit land to take the moral high ground and force his family into submission to seize their legacy. Everything today was led by Lu Changxing and the woman named Ling Zixiao. It was Lu Changxing who desired to take over their ancestral land and establish his own sect. At this moment, regret surged through him. He understood that if Lu Changxing wanted to establish his own sect, he could have taken advantage of the grand formation not being activated earlier to negotiate terms with Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao. Although he couldn't defeat people like Lu Changxing, he could have used the Grand Formation to sabotage his family's fishery, herb gardens, spirit fields, and spirit veins. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao certainly wouldn't want to receive a ruined and dilapidated by Lake Mountain. But now, with everything settled, he had nothing more to say. Chapter 600, Blue Lake Mountain Lu Family. Stirring from all directions. July bonus chapter for 2,500 monthly votes, _1 Congratulations, Lu Daoist. Now that the matter is settled, I shall not stay long and will make my way back first. As the dust settled on the issue, Bai Yunyang bid farewell to Lu Changxing with clasped hands, indicating his intention to return to 100 Birds Lake. White Daoist has worked hard on this trip. Once the matter is fully dealt with, we will find time to drink and celebrate together. Lu Changxing clasped his hands slightly toward Bai Yunyang and said with a smile. Although Bai Yunyang hadn't exerted too much effort on this trip, such an affair, for someone to willingly offer assistance and show their stance, was already quite commendable. In response, he was willing to reciprocate the kindness. Moreover, he had long thought out his own family's path. His main focus was to avoid strife, make wide connections, and believe that harmony brings wealth. Good, when Lu Daoist establishes your family's grand ceremony, I will definitely come to observe the ceremony and join you for a drink and a chat. Upon hearing this, Bai Yunyang immediately responded with clasped hands and a smile. In his expression and words, however, he couldn't help but convey a measure of respect and awe. Although everyone was a foundation establishment cultivator, there were still differences between individuals. The Lu Changxing before him, who single-handedly killed 3 foundation-building great cultivators, how could he not feel a deep sense of reverence toward him? He felt fortunate that he had befriended Lu Changxing on this trip. Otherwise, with the combination of Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao, which neighboring family or power wouldn't live in apprehension? Having said that, he also clasped hands towards Ling Zixiao and Lu Yuanzhong and bid them farewell aloud. Daoist Bai, take care. Nephew Bai, go slowly. Ling Zixiao and Lu Yuanzhong nodded slightly. Screech. The next moment, Bai Yunyang released a black flying eagle from his spiritual pet bag at the energy refinement late stage and rode away on it. Zixiao, are you all right? After watching Bai Yunyang leave, Lu Changxing approached Ling Zixiao, took her fair wrist, and checked on her condition. He had always been aware of Ling Zixiao's physical condition. Although she had recovered considerably after more than a year of care, the atrophy of her meridians and dantian had not been resolved. If she used too much mana, it would injure her meridians and dantian. Just now, Ling Zixiao's effort to break the formation would certainly have placed a certain load on her meridians and dantian. Husband, it's nothing serious. Ling Zixiao conveyed to Lu Changxing through a message, speaking in a soft tone. However, as Lu Changxing held Ling Zixiao's wrist to examine her condition, he immediately saw that her meridians and dantian were under severe strain, a total mess. If it continued, there was fear of meridian damage. Instantly, he understood that Ling Zixiao had actually reached her limit just now and had been bluffing Yuninghu. With her current condition, she was truly unable to continue using mana to break formations. Changxing, someone needs to be stationed in the family. Miaoga is still at Foundation establishment, shall I go back first? At that moment, Lu Yuanzhong spoke to Lu Changxing from the side. With the issue of Blue Lake Mountain settled. In his view, having Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao stationed there was sufficient. Now that Qingzhou Mountain was in a vulnerable state, protected only by the Great Formation, he had to get back early. Good, old ancestor, you have worked hard on this matter. You take Miaoyun and the others back first, leave a few elder family members skilled in dealing with affairs, and they will take over the Yu family affairs with me later, said Lu Changxing, nodding to Lu Yuanzhong. Since Ling Zixiao was currently unwell, needing proper care and healing, he planned to settle down in Blue Lake Mountain. He would wait for the Yu family to complete their relocation and handle their affairs. But he was not very adept at dealing with family affairs, so he needed a few people to help. Good. Lu Yuanzhong, upon hearing this, immediately arranged for several people to stay behind at Blue Lake Mountain with Lu Changxing. Yuna, Huan, You two follow the old ancestor back first, and I will come to pick you up later, Lu Changsheng said, advancing towards his wives Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan. Husband, be careful. The two women nodded in response. Looking towards Lu Changsheng, there was also a newfound reverence in their eyes. As his wives, they thought they were quite familiar with Lu Changsheng. But Lu Changsheng's actions and performance that day made them realize that they did not really understand their husband as much as they thought. Be careful as well, he responded. Huan, keep that puppet for self-defense, said Lu Changsheng in a gentle voice, knowing his wife had many questions in her mind. But such matters were not something he had time to explain right now. After speaking, he looked towards the children on the spirit boat and called out, Xianxia, Yuner, Xiaru, you three stay behind and help the family elders with the Blue Lake Mountain affairs later. Lu Changsheng spoke to his sons Lu Xianji, Lu Yun, and his daughter Lu Xiaru. Once Blue Lake Mountain was fully taken over, he naturally wanted to place his children in charge. Now that Lu Xianji and a few other people had arrived, he wanted them to get acquainted with the situation first. Yes, father. The three children responded, some excited and pleased. This caused other children and Lu family disciples to look at them with some envy. After that, Lu Changsheng and others settled in with the Yu family. During this time, Lu Changsheng wasn't worried about the Yu family causing any trouble. After all, the control of Blue Lake Mountain's great formation was now in the hands of Ling Zixiao. Moreover, if it really came down to a fight, he alone could wipe out all of the Yu family members. Shortly after, Lu Changsheng began healing Ling Zixiao in a room, stabilizing her physical condition. Yu family ancestral hall. Big brother, do we really have to move? Ninghu, all the core disciples and elders of the Yu family looked towards Yu Ninghu with faces filled with unwillingness and righteous indignation. Move! Yu Ninghu spoke with a calm and indifferent expression. Now that the old ancestor is gone, and the situation is beyond our control, what else can we do if we don't move? Do you really want to fight to the death? If fighting to the death could avenge our old ancestor, Yu Ninghu would naturally not be afraid. But that would be nothing more than a needless sacrifice. Our Yu family history records that 300 years ago, our ancestors rose from a small energy refinement family step by step, broke through to foundation establishment, seized Blue Lake Mountain, and established the Blue Lake Mountain Yu family. Chapter 601, Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Stirring from all directions. July bonus chapter for 2,500 monthly votes. How much worse can we be now than we were back then? As long as we're alive, there's hope for the future. Yu Ninghu looked at everyone, his voice ringing with determination. Listening to Yu Ninghu's words, they felt reluctant but understood the rationale. All began to go back, gather their belongings, and prepare for relocation. Big brother. Yu Ningyuan looked at his elder brother, his voice choked with emotion. As the patriarch of the Yu family, handing over the foundation of Blue Lake Mountain to others was unbearably frustrating. Hold back. Keep the family vendetta and hatred hidden in your heart. Do not reveal it. Lu Changsheng has trapped our Yu family on the small Jing Mountain for 10 years, just to make us forget our family's hatred. But how can we forget the vengeance for stealing our home and ancestral murder? How dare we forget? Yu Ninghu patted his shoulder, his voice hoarse with emotion. In the elegant room, Lu Changsheng used the yin-yang nirvana art and life transference technique to nourish Ling Zixiao's meridians and dantian, quickly stabilizing her physical condition. Afterward. Zixiao, you won't need to do this anymore. Lu Changsheng, holding Ling Zixiao in his arms, whose body was fair and blushing from exhaustion, spoke in a gentle voice. Though he stabilized Ling Zixiao's meridians and dantian using the secret technique, the past year's efforts on her body had been in vain. To see Ling Zixiao recover, their only hope was for Lu Miao's Tai true water, or to chance upon some heavenly materials and earth treasures, elixirs. It's not convenient for you to reveal your strength right now, my husband, so there are some things you can't do, and naturally, I have to do them. Moreover, now that your family is newly established, the surrounding families will surely be covetous. Only by showing enough strength outwardly can we have a deterrent effect. Ling Zixiao nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her voluptuous body soft as silk, almost limp, her pale and elegant face still flushed as she spoke softly. Having accompanied Lu Changsheng to Qingzhou Mountain for over a year, she knew he wanted to establish a family power, so she spent time understanding the situation in her spare time. She knew that in the Qingyun region, in addition to Bai Lake Mountain, Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, and Wugong Ridge, there were many other family powers. Establishing a family power naturally required sufficient deterrent force. This way, the surrounding families would acknowledge them, making it convenient for future actions. And today, in her view, was a good opportunity to establish authority and show strength. Of course, there were other reasons. For example, as Lu Changsheng's partner, now that the family was established, she naturally had to establish a certain prestige, so that she could act conveniently within the family in the future. Her actions today were also about establishing prestige for herself. On another note, the two had met in Jiuxiao Immortal City. It had always been Lu Changsheng who was giving unilaterally to her. A proud person at heart, she also wanted to do something for Lu Changsheng. "You've worked hard." Lu Changsheng, holding the delicate warmth in his arms, spoke warmly. He certainly understood this principle, but seeing Ling Zixiao willing to make such sacrifices for him, he was still touched. He knew that his efforts over the past year with Ling Zixiao had been somewhat effective. "My husband, Yuninghu, is no simple man. And there are certainly many in the Yu family who harbor jealousy and vengeful feelings toward us. We naturally have no fear, but our children at home will have trouble facing this sort of thing. My thoughts are to first grasp the current situation and attitude of the Yu family clearly. Then, directly ask the Shadow Pavilion to take action and remove the Yu family." Ling Zixiao snuggled in Lu Changsheng's arms, looked up at him with a gentle voice. Through her brief contact before, she also felt that Yuninghu was not simple. And she didn't believe the Yu family could really let go of the vendetta for land theft and ancestral murder. Perhaps the common children of the Yu family could let it go, but core members like Yuninghu and Yuningyuan, who had deep family affection, would absolutely not let it go easily. And these people were precisely the main fighting force of the Yu family. So these people had to die. Shadow Pavilion? As Lu Changsheng heard this name, his brows furrowed. Though he hadn't heard this name before, he had a hunch about what kind of organization it was. Shadow Pavilion is an underground organization in Jiuxiao Immortal City. As long as you can afford the spirit stones, you can hire someone to carry out assassinations. Once the situation cools down in a few years, and we have a clear understanding of the core members of the Yu family outside, we can leave the matter to the Shadow Pavilion. Ling Zixiao explained to Lu Changsheng. Having established herself in Jiuxiao Immortal City, she's obviously not a simpleton, possessing certain cunning. Otherwise, with her dragon roar physique unable to utilize the foundation establishment cultivation, how could she stand in Jiuxiao Immortal City? Heh, it seems we were thinking along the same lines. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, smiled and spoke. Ever since Ling Zixiao talked about imprisoning the Yu family on small Jing Mountain for 10 years, he guessed that she would not let the Yu family off easily. He felt the same. After all, how could a family feud like this be easily resolved? "It's a pity I gave the Misty Sky bead to Nangong Meili. Otherwise, with the Misty Sky bead, handling this matter would have been much easier." Lu Changsheng then thought of his mysterious bead, Misty Sky bead. This treasure could not only deceive spiritual contracts but also perfectly disguise others. It's extremely suitable for things that must be done out of sight. Since my husband thinks the same, then that's the best we could ask for. Upon hearing this, Ling Zixiao showed a smile. During the year and more they'd spent together, Lu Changsheng had struck her as an unconventional man but still somewhat noble. Chapter 602, Blue Lake Mountain Lu Family. Stirring from all directions. July bonus chapter for 2,500 monthly votes. Worrying that Lu Changsheng would not contradict himself after signing a spiritual contract. Such matters, how can they be resolved just by talking about it? Lu Changsheng said, shaking his head slightly. As he spoke, he looked at the snowy, crystalline, plump body in his arms, and getting up, he said, Zishao, my yin-yang origin source has already recovered these days. Instantly, the soft body, like silken cotton, completely melted into water and mud, her voice coming in staccato waves. 3 days later, a message spread amongst the many surrounding families, causing no small disturbance. Blue Lake Mountain had changed hands. The Yu family of Blue Lake Mountain had repeatedly offended the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. 1.5 years ago, Lu Miaofeng of Qingzhou Mountain had a breakthrough in foundation establishment, but due to the interference and harassment from the Yu families Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan, the attempt failed. This time, as Lu Miaoge of Qingzhou Mountain attempted the foundation establishment breakthrough, the 3 from the Yu family attacked again. Who would have thought that Lu Miaoge's husband, Lu Changxing, not only had a breakthrough in foundation establishment while away but also obtained a top-tier talisman path inheritance. Facing the 3 Yu family foundation establishment great cultivators, he deployed hundreds of talisman, creating a talisman refinement formation, and single-handedly slaughtered all 3 foundation establishment adversaries. Immediately after, the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain joined forces with the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake to demand an explanation from Blue Lake Mountain. During this process, Lu Changsheng's partner, with a token of formation acquired from the patriarch of the Yu family, actually used an array to break the array, bravely confronting the Yu families, by Shui Tianqin Great Formation. In the end, they forced the Blue Lake Mountain Yu family to compensate by surrendering their ancestral estate, Blue Lake Mountain. Later, Lu Changxing notified the surrounding families that, in 3 months, he would hold a ceremony at Blue Lake Mountain to establish a new clan. To establish the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain. At Wugong Ridge Xing family. Lu Changxing of Qingzhou Mountain has seized Blue Lake Mountain, set up his own sect, and established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Upon reading this news, the patriarch of the Zheng family was so shocked he was at a loss for words. For a moment, he didn't know whether to rejoice or to worry. He had not much time left to live, now only 2 to 3 years remaining. So he had pledged allegiance to the Yu family of Blue Lake Mountain early on. But unexpectedly, now the Yu family had been overthrown by the combined forces of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain and the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. The family's spiritual land, Blue Lake Mountain, had become the family's spiritual land of Lu Changxing, the son-in-law of Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changxing, Lu Changxing. Initially, I only thought this man was extraordinary, with an innate gift for the talisman path, but I did not expect that he not only achieved foundation establishment but also attained a top-tier talisman path inheritance. I heard that Weiner is already bearing Lu Changsheng's second child, and I don't know how talented these 2 children will be or whether they can support my Zheng family in the future. The aged patriarch of the Zheng family had a withered face, dim eyes, full of wrinkles, as he sank into deep thought. After a long time, he transmitted a message to someone outside his cave dwelling, "Have Ming Lang come see me." Lu Changxing has one big hobby, marrying wives, taking concubines, and having children. But now that he has broken through to foundation establishment, he no longer fancies ordinary women. Otherwise, I would marry several Zheng family daughters to Lu Changxing as concubines. If they bear children with exceptional talents in the future, it might ensure the safety of my Zheng family. The patriarch of the Zheng family muttered to himself. Now that the Yu family of Blue Lake Mountain had fallen, he had to find a new support for the Zheng family before he died. And the new master of Blue Lake Mountain is, in his opinion, worth the investment. He had read up on Lu Changsheng's background and knew that Lu Changxing was a man who valued loyalty and friendship, especially when it came to his wives, concubines, and children. If a few girls from his own family could marry Lu Changxing, winning his favor and bearing children with decent talents, even if Lu Changxing one day wanted to seize Wugong Ridge, he would treat his Zheng family kindly for the sake of his daughters and their offspring. But the thought of sending his own daughters to be concubines for Lu Changxing, only to bear children one after another, effectively ruining their paths to cultivation, made him sigh deeply, his face wrinkled with a tremor, his eyes dull and lightless. Yunshan Marketplace. Lu Changxing, how is this possible? How? Yuning Yuan couldn't contain his anger and disbelief upon hearing the news that the patriarch of the Yu family had fallen and that Blue Lake Mountain had been taken by Lu Changxing. Back then, when he went to Nine Dragons Market to recruit Lu Changxing, he was so condescending. Now, he had just broken through to 9th level energy refinement and was stationed outside, while Lu Changxing had not only achieved foundation establishment but also killed his great ancestor and taken their family's spirit land. Nine Dragons Marketplace. Lu Changxing of Qingzhou Mountain slayed 3 patriarchs of the Yu family, took over Blue Lake Mountain, and wishes to establish the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Yu Maoqing and his wife, Yu Ningrong, looked at each other when they heard this news, at a loss for words for a moment. They were naturally aware of Lu Changxing, having had a good relationship with him before. Since their families faced each other, Yu Ningrong had even married off her friend's daughter, Yun Qianxian, to Lu Changxing as a concubine. It was just that after Lu Changxing left the Nine Dragons Market, their relationship gradually cooled. Yun Qianxian and Yu Ningrong occasionally corresponded with letters and had met a few times. Now, upon hearing news of Lu Changxing once again, they learned of his defeating the Yu family's 3 venerable ancestors and becoming the master of Blue Lake Mountain. Yu Maoqing looked at his wife, hesitant to speak. He wanted to offer words of comfort, but didn't know what to say. "Husband, we are both of this age now. What can I do with a family facing such a disaster?" Yu Ningrong, knowing what her husband wanted to say, had a bitter smile on her face. Although she was an offshoot of the Yu family, she had grown up on Blue Lake Mountain. Now hearing that her own family had been destroyed and her ancestors slain, how could she not be affected? But she was only a minor cultivator at 6th level energy refinement. Now that her children had all settled down, what could she do? What could she take part in? A valley shrouded in miasma. Lu Changxing, the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain's son-in-law, born from humble beginnings, has broken through to foundation establishment and received the talisman path inheritance? Just having recently achieved foundation establishment, he relied on a talisman formation to single-handedly kill 3 foundation establishment cultivators. In the cave dwelling, a middle-aged man dressed in a black brocade robe, with a dark and slightly stiff countenance, read the information in his hands. It seems this talisman inheritance is not ordinary, and he can even gift others with foundation establishment elixirs. This Lu Changxing's fortunes must be considerable, and there's an array master. If he could be controlled, these 2 would be of great use to our clan. The figure in the black robe had dark eyes, tinged with a hint of crimson, mumbling to himself. Chapter 603. It took 3 days for the Yu family to complete the relocation. Yu Ninghu, together with the clan cultivators and the younger generation, all moved to Shaojing Mountain. As for the Ji family of Shaojing Mountain facing the relocation of the Yu family, they naturally had nothing to say, nor dared to say anything, but could only agree. However, Lu Changxing didn't do anything to oppress others with his power. He spent 16,000 spirit stones to buy the property rights of Shaojing Mountain. He made the Ji family a vassal, allowing the Ji family and the Yu family to live together on Shaojing Mountain. After the relocation was completed, according to the contract, Yu Ninghu arranged for 10 Yu family juniors to work with Lu Changxing to transfer the property rights and family affairs of Bai Lake Mountain. Bai Lake Mountain is about 31 miles long and 25 miles wide. There are 4 spirit veins in total: Bai Yun Peak, Bai Shui Lake, Lake Heart Island, and Lingsui Cliff. Among them, Bai Yun Peak is a 2nd-rank middle-grade spirit vein, while the others are all 1st-grade top-grade, high-grade spirit veins. Because the spirit veins crisscross, many areas, although without spirit veins, are close to them and nourished by spiritual energy, which makes them suitable for cultivation as spirit fields to grow some spiritual crops. Lu Changxing was looking at the information introduction about Bai Lake Mountain. "My lord, now that the Yu family has completed their relocation, we can also take a good look at this Bai Lake Mountain." Ling Zixiao, wearing a blue long dress, with an elegant face, spoke. Due to her injuries and the Yu family's relocation, she had been recuperating in her room these days, not leaving the house. "Alright, in that case, let's go and have a look." Lu Changxing smiled upon hearing this, put down the jade slip in his hand, and walked out of the courtyard with Ling Zixiao. Afterward, he called a Yu family junior to act as a guide to introduce the situation of by Lake Mountain. This is the spirit field of our by Lake Mountain. Since by Lake Mountain mainly produces by Shui Lake fish, there are not many spirit fields cultivated. These spirit fields are for ordinary spiritual crops, which even mortals can cultivate and plant. These 1,000 acres of spirit fields are all first grade, planted with first grade high-grade jade marrow rice. These 180 acres of spirit fields are second-grade spirit fields, planted with our Yu family's exclusive spirit rice, by water rice. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao inspected the entire by Lake Mountain, with a Yu family junior constantly speaking, introducing the situation. Have the cultivation methods for these two types of spirit rice been transferred? Ling Zixiao looked at the spirit rice and spirit paddy in the spirit fields and asked. Each spiritual land has its differences in soil, climate, and environment. Hence, the methods of planting and cultivation are not universally applicable. For example, the Bai Jade Spirit Bamboo and Chui Jade Bamboo rice of Qingzhou Mountain might not thrive if planted on Bai Lake Mountain. Even if they could grow, their growth and effects would not be ideal. Like this jade marrow rice and Bai water rice, they were the result of the Yu family's exploration over 100 years, summarized over generations. It can be said that they are most suitable for cultivation on Bai Lake Mountain, maximizing yield. Now taking over, they naturally would not easily change and decide to plant other crops. Therefore, Ling Zixiao would certainly not miss out on these cultivation methods, intending to have the Yu family leave them behind. The cultivation methods for jade marrow rice and Bai water rice have already been fully transferred. The Yu family junior said with a somber voice. Now that their own spiritual land had been taken, they could only settle in Shaojing Mountain. And here he was, explaining their own spiritual land to others, which made him feel incredibly stifled. Ling Zixiao nodded slightly. After inspecting the spirit fields, the three proceeded to Bai Shui Lake. Other than some fish and shrimp, the most famous in Bai Shui Lake are the red blood carp and Bai blood carp. This Yu family junior was introducing the situation of Bai Shui Lake. Beneath Bai Shui Lake lies an aquatic spirit vein. Therefore, it can continuously produce spiritually enriched fish and shrimp. The most famous among them are the red blood carp and Bai blood carp, two types of spiritual fish. The Yu family junior also mentioned that almost every 10 years, Bai Shui Lake would produce a dragon carp. This dragon carp is also known as the lesser dragon breed. Consuming it not only strengthens the body and extends one's life but also enhances the potential of snake, python, and dragon-kind demon beasts, making it extremely rare. Dragon carp. Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, glanced at Bai Shui Lake. He had tasted the Yu family's red blood carp and Bai blood carp. But as for the dragon carp, the Yu family did not sell it externally, so he had only heard of it and never actually tasted it. When did the dragon carp last appear? Lu Changxing asked aloud. It seems to be 6 years ago, the Yu family junior replied. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't ask further. Then they arrived at Lake Heart Island in the center of Bai Shui Lake. Lake Heart Island is not large, covering about 10 acres. There stood a Bai Lake villa for the Yu family's side branches and those with different surnames to reside. After a brief tour, the three followed the water vein to a fish farm. This fish farm was developed from the second-grade middle-grade spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak and connected to the water vein of Bai Shui Lake, full of spiritual energy. It is specifically used to nurture red blood carp and Bai blood carp, to cultivate carp kings. These carp kings are second-grade spiritual fish, each worth hundreds of spirit stones. Lu Changxing looked at the fish farm in front of him. Experience tales with Empire currently, there weren't many carps inside. He estimated that the Yu family had just harvested or that the fry were not yet mature. Of course, it was also possible that the Yu family, during the relocation, had secretly fished out the carps. After inspecting the spirit fields, Bai Shui Lake, Lake Heart Island, and the fish farm, the three visited Lingzui Cliff. Lingzui Cliff had been exploited by the Yu family as a mountain for cultivating spiritual medicine. However, Lingzui Cliff was now bare, with only some common spiritual medicine and immature spiritual medicine remaining. Not a single mature advanced-level spiritual medicine was left. CTH Novelier. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This was part of the agreement with the Yu family, whereby they could take all of the mature advanced-level spiritual medicines with them. After all, a smooth handover required their cooperation. Just allowing them to take away the advanced-level spiritual medicines was within an acceptable range. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 604. This Lingzui cliff is connected to the second-grade spiritual vein of Bai Yun Peak and possesses second-rank spiritual energy. In due time, we can plant the luminous treasure tree here. After roughly assessing the situation of Lingzui Cliff, Lu Changsheng silently reflected. After looking over the general situation of Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng sent the Yu family junior away and proceeded to Bai Yun Peak with Ling Zixiao. There were many pavilions, estates, and grand halls here. These were the dwellings of the Yu family's direct descendants, elder statesmen, and the family head. Now, they were all empty. Seeing the plaques on these buildings, Lu Changsheng didn't rush to replace them immediately. He planned to have them systematically taken care of later. The two strolled from the base of Bai Yun Peak to the summit. At the top was a grand hall, both simple and magnificent, with Jinyang Hall inscribed above it. Presumably, it was where the patriarch of the Yu family, Yu Jinyang, resided. Entering the grand hall, they reached a deep chamber where the spiritual ice spring was located for seclusion. Inside, the spiritual energy was incredibly dense, almost reaching the peak of second grade. It seems that this second-grade spiritual vein of the Yu family is just a step away from ascending to upper second rank. Lu Changsheng said with a light laugh as he sensed the abundant spiritual energy, considering it a pleasant surprise. If he so wished, he could elevate this place to an upper second-grade spiritual vein using the spiritual eye spring. My lord, if you have extra spirit stones, you could acquire some spiritual origin pearls. Then, you can set up a formation to upgrade this spiritual vein to upper second rank, Ling Zixiao suggested with a soft smile, sensing the spiritual energy. Spiritual origin pearls were the lowest grade of spiritual eye items. At their level, it was the kind of spiritual eye item they had access to. We can pay some attention to this in the future, Lu Changsheng nodded and responded. Currently, he definitely wouldn't use the spiritual eye spring to upgrade the spiritual vein. If he could purchase spiritual origin pearls, they could be used to upgrade the spiritual vein of Bai Yun Peak. However, these spiritual origin pearls were also quite rare, only seen at major auctions or private trading events. In the future, we can consider planting the Mount Sumeru Tree King here, Lu Changsheng said as he stepped out of Jinyang Hall, feeling that the summit would be suitable for planting the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This peak belonged to the restricted area of Bai Lake Mountain, where only the family's patriarchs had access. However, if planted here, it would need Ling Zixiao to set up a formation to keep it concealed from outsiders. My lord, the Yu family has been on Bai Lake Mountain for 100 years. They've perfected their layout and planning. The main second-rank vein on this Bai Yun Peak is used by the direct descendants of the family for cultivation. The main vein extends two branch veins, one connecting to Lingzui Cliff, the other to Bai Shui Lake, where they have established fish farms for cultivating spiritual medicine and raising spiritual fish. The ordinary family members and members of foreign surnames reside at Lake Heart Island and Lingzui Cliff. From what I see, there is no need for major changes in this layout and planning. When the time comes, we'll just need to reorganize the spiritual veins and the overall great formation, Ling Zixiao stated from the summit of Bai Yun Peak, looking down upon Bai Lake Mountain. Indeed, the Yu family's current layout and arrangements are reasonable. There's no need for major changes, Lu Changsheng agreed, nodding. He too felt there was no need for changes. However, I've taken a look. Although the Yu family has an alchemy room, it's quite rudimentary. Discover exclusive tales on Empire. It will need to be refurbished in due time, Lu Changsheng said aloud. The Yu family probably had never produced a second-rank alchemist. Thus, they only had a rudimentary alchemy room, where the earth fire could only concoct first-grade elixir medicines. That shouldn't be a problem. I will set up a formation in Baiyun Peak to nurture a line of fire veins. However, since the spiritual veins of Bai Lake Mountain are primarily water veins, it will take some time to nurture a line of fire veins, Ling Zixiao whispered in response. She knew Lu Changxing was a second-rank alchemist. He required sufficient earth vein fire for alchemy. There's no rush for that. Let's wait until you've recovered a bit before we do it, Lu Changxing spoke up. Given Ling Zixiao's current physical condition, he wouldn't want her to overexert herself. My lord, there are still many mortals on Bai Lake Mountain, as well as some cultivators of foreign surnames. Since you're short on manpower, these people could be put to good use. However, we still need to recruit new farmers and fishermen, Ling Zixiao continued, looking down below. The Yu family, although they had moved away, couldn't possibly take away the large number of commoners. Additionally, some cultivators not originally from the Yu family were unwilling to leave with the Yu family due to the turmoil. Theoretically, these people belonged to Lu Changxing, the new master of Bai Lake Mountain. S.E.A. the Novel Fire. N.E*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After discussing with Ling Zixiao, Lu Changxing adopted a lenient policy. If one had a particular skill and wished to stay, they could remain. If they were unskilled, then, regrettably, they had to leave within a month. Sure, when you have the time, you can directly arrange these matters. If you don't have the time, well, let Yuner and the others take care of it later, Lu Changxing suggested. He could tell that Ling Zixiao was quite invested in matters concerning family management. If she was willing to take charge, he was content to let her handle it. If she was unwilling, then he was equally satisfied to delegate the tasks to his other spouses and children. Let Miaoyun and the others take care of these matters. With Qinzhou Mountain's support, it'll be more convenient for them, Ling Zixiao smiled faintly. She wasn't overly interested in family affairs. Her involvement in family management stemmed solely from boredom at Qinzhou Mountain. She hoped that Lu Changxing would establish his own family power soon. Now that he had acquired Bai Lake Mountain, she was naturally willing to put effort into its development. But she preferred not to worry too much about family affairs. All right, in a few days, I'll bring Yuner and the others over, and they can handle these situations, Lu Changxing concluded. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 605. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ling Zixiao as they overlooked the entirety of Bai Lake Mountain. One could see the vast waving Bai Shui Lake, brimming with life, and the fresh, verdant Lingsui Cliff, dripping with vigor. From now on, this is my family spirit land. At this moment, a sense of satisfaction welled up within Lu Changxing. He was no longer living under someone else's roof. He had his own family spirit land now. He could finally settle down and take root. Not only will I bring Miaoyun and the others here, but when the time comes, if there are children from Rui Prefecture who wish to come to Bai Lake Mountain, they can be brought over as well. Even if they live in an ordinary area, the nourishment from the spiritual energy will relatively make it easier for them to give birth to offspring with spiritual roots, thought Lu Changxing. Beyond their own spirit veins and the cultivation of spirit fields, the Yu family had also allocated an area for the ordinary, non-spiritual root members of their clan to live. Even though the ordinary area lacked spirit veins, it possessed a certain amount of spiritual energy, much better than that of the secular mundane world. Long-term residence there could strengthen the body, improve health, and extend lifespan. Moreover, relative to other environments, children born there would have a higher probability of having spiritual roots. So, he planned to settle any offspring willing to live on Bai Lake Mountain there. For those unwilling or wishing to venture into the mundane world, they could spread their branches and leaves within Rui Prefecture. Sarch * The Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. I wonder if Sister Miaoga is almost done with her foundation establishment? At this time, Lu Changxing thought of Lu Miaoge, who was still in the midst of her breakthrough. According to the timing of foundation establishment, Lu Miaoge should also be almost done with her breakthrough now. Qingzhou Mountain. In recent days, all disciples of the Lu family had been discussing the matter of Lu Changxing setting up his own clan on Bai Lake Mountain. They had mixed feelings about it, both happy and conflicted. On one hand, they were thrilled and excited by the astonishing strength displayed by Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao. On the other, they felt trepidation, worried about being overshadowed. Yet seeing Lu Changxing establish his own clan and leave Qingzhou Mountain, they felt a sense of loss. They felt that if Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao continued with the Lu family, the rise of Qingzhou Mountain would be unstoppable. Just then, above Qingzhou Valley, the whirlpool of spiritual energy began to slowly dissipate. Accompanying this was a scene of rainbows spreading like rainbows after a storm. Look, the whirlpool of spiritual energy above Qingzhou Valley is starting to fade. The whirlpool of spiritual energy is dispersing and rainbows are spreading, which means foundation establishment is successful. Sister Miaoge has succeeded in her foundation establishment. Now that Uncle Changxing wishes to establish the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, will Aunt Miaoge also go to Bai Lake Mountain? She probably won't. Even if she goes to Bai Lake Mountain, it will be to oversee both sides. Many Lu family disciples, upon witnessing this scene, were invigorated with excitement. But in the next moment, some began to wonder if Lu Miaoge would go to Bai Lake Mountain with Lu Changxing establishing his own clan. Miaoge has succeeded in foundation establishment. Outside the cave, Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding saw the scene, exchanged glances, and both saw delight on each other's faces. Discover exclusive tales on Empire during these days. They had been closely following Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment progress, feeling anxious. Despite having the foundation establishment elixir and Lu Changxing's preparations, it was still foundation establishment, and they could not help their worry. Now, seeing the signs of successful foundation establishment, the anxiety that weighed on their hearts was finally lifted. Father, great-grandfather. The next moment, they heard a soft, soothing voice. The voice, gentle like the warm breeze of spring, smoothed out the anxiety and emotions within them. Then, a figure emerged from the cave, clothed in white garments purer than snow, with a stunningly beautiful face, a slender figure, and a transcendental aura. Miaoge? Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding, seeing the figure in front of them, Lu Miaoge, both looked surprised. Although Lu Miaoge still had her former appearance, she seemed like a completely different person. Her 3,000 strands of black hair fell like a waterfall, simply draped over her shoulders, emitting a soft luminescent glow. Her skin, as white as frost and as flawless as mutton fat jade, and her pure face, had gained an extra bit of ethereal and enchanting beauty. Especially her eyes, like limpid autumn waters, seemed to contain a whole galaxy, exuding a universal tolerance, a tranquil sanctity, and a transcendence from the mundane. Miaoge, have you concluded your foundation establishment? Lu Yuanding, looking at his daughter in front of him, was momentarily at a loss for words. The change in Lu Miaoge was so great that it made him, her father, feel ashamed by comparison. Yes, father, I have concluded my foundation establishment, Lu Miaoge said softly, with slightly parted lips. Her calm voice held a hint of joy. After all, this was foundation establishment. The breakthrough she had always longed for and dreamed of achieving. But the surprise prepared for her by Lu Changxing had muted her excitement. Good. Upon hearing this, both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding exclaimed in joy, overwhelmed with happiness. Soon after, the three engaged in idle chatter, with Lu Yuanzhong telling Lu Miaoge about the matters concerning Lu Changxing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 606, Zheng Family Vassal Moving Out. _1, Talisman Path Inheritance, slaying 3 at the Foundation Establishment? Array Master, breaking the formation with another formation. Lu Miaoge was utterly astonished as she listened to Lu Yuanzhong recounting the events of the past few days. Especially upon hearing that Ling Zixiao, as an array master, had shaken the Yu family's great formation by breaking the formation with another formation, her amazement knew no bounds. Because Lu Changxing had told her about Ling Zixiao's situation. Dragon roar physique, withered meridians and Danton, mana barely 1/10 remaining. In such a state, Ling Zixiao still possessed such fighting strength. If he were at his peak, how astounding it would be. Unknowingly, the women around Changxing have all become so outstanding. At that moment, Lu Miaoge couldn't help but feel somewhat inferior to Lu Changxing. Feeling that her husband was not just growing more impressive by the day, but the women by his side, like Xiaoxia, Ling Zixiao, Meng Xiaochan, each one was remarkably talented and beautiful. While she, had it not been for the cultivation technique, foundation establishment elixir, and foundation establishment spirit objects given to her by Lu Changxing, would still be whiling away her time at the 9th level energy refinement. How could she possibly achieve a breakthrough to foundation establishment, let alone condense a perfect Dao foundation? Sigh. She took a deep breath and gently exhaled. Then, turning to Lu Yuanzhong, she said, "Uncle, Changxing had spoken to me about establishing our own clan a long time ago. It's just because of the family situation, we never brought it up. We planned to wait until I had established my foundation and the family was stable before we started preparing for this, so we haven't had a chance to inform you," Lu Miaoge said as such, her demeanor as serene as water. When Lu Yuanzhong was recounting these matters, she could sense a hint of wistfulness in his words. Knowing that Lu Yuanzhong felt slightly uncomfortable that Lu Changxing had not given them prior notice about establishing his own clan without any hint, she promptly shared some of Lu Changxing's earlier thoughts and actions with Lu Yuanzhong. Explaining that Lu Changxing has long been planning to purchase an appropriate spiritual land to establish the clan, but they were waiting, for Lu Yuanzhong had been severely injured and the Lu family lacked a foundation establishment member to stabilize the situation. So they intended to wait until she broke through the foundation establishment phase. Now with the Yu family attacking, it just so happened to provide the opportunity, and since she had also completed her foundation establishment, they seized by Lake Mountain to establish the clan. So it was Changxing is considerate. Upon hearing this, both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding showed smiles on their faces. They weren't uncomfortable or distrustful of Lu Changxing regarding this matter. Rather, Lu Yuanzhong felt that the initiative had always seemed to be in Ling Zixiao's hands. Ling Zixiao knew of Lu Changxing's plan to establish a clan and took the initiative to manage these matters. If Lu Miaoge was completely in the dark, it would imply that she was less significant than Ling Zixiao. Now that they heard how much preparation Lu Changxing had made for Lu Miaoge and how much he had considered for the Lu family, they were instantly reassured. "Miaoge, now that you've broken through to foundation establishment, what are your plans?" Lu Yuanding looked at his daughter and asked. One of the main reasons the Lu family agreed to marry Lu Miaoge to Lu Changxing was because this son-in-law took root in Qingzhou Mountain. Now that Lu Changxing was establishing his own clan, it was reasonable for Lu Miaoge to go to by Lake Mountain if she wished. "Father, Changxing had already discussed this with me a while ago. I will temporarily preside over Qingzhou Mountain. Besides, we are only a few thousand miles away from the two houses now, and we can easily come and go between them for any matter." Lu Miaoge gently spoke, clearly understanding the implication of her father's words. Currently, the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, was suffering from corpse poison in his organs, with his life hanging by a thread and in extremely poor condition. Now that she had broken through to foundation establishment, naturally, the family hoped she would become the Lu family ancestor of Qingzhou Mountain, stationed there. Initially, when Lu Changxing mentioned establishing his own clan, she had been torn about this issue. After all, Qingzhou Mountain was where she was born and raised. And Lu Changxing was her current family. She could not let go of either Qingzhou Mountain or Lu Changxing. Fortunately, Lu Changxing was very thoughtful and did not put her in a difficult position, stating that the family he would establish in the future would not be too far, convenient for travel between both sides. Now, Lu Changsheng had established the family on by Lake Mountain. Being only a few thousand miles away from each other, it was very convenient to travel back and forth. Uncle, I have previously modified the cultivation technique Changsheng gave me. Its mana has healing effects, which might help with your injuries. Lu Miaoge did not dwell on this topic and spoke to Lu Yuanzhong. Now that she had broken through to foundation establishment, her mana could condense Tai True Water, which had the effect of healing wounds and reviving with miraculous hands. The cultivation technique given by Changsheng? Both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding nodded slightly at her words. From the spiritual energy phenomenon during Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment breakthrough and the changes after her breakthrough, they roughly guessed that Lu Miaoge had modified some other cultivation technique. Because only certain rare heavenly and earthly treasures, or top-tier cultivation techniques, can cause such a transformation and transcendence in a person. All right, Miaoge, I'm troubling you, Lu Yuanzhong said. Since his niece had offered, he naturally would not refuse. Tai True Water. Lu Miaoge channeled her mana, placing her right hand, which radiated an azure halo, in front of Lu Yuanzhong's chest. Infusing the condensed Tai True Water to nourish Lu Yuanzhong's internal organs. This, Lu Yuanzhong's face was momentarily stunned, surprised in his eyes. Through this Tai True Water, he instantly sensed that the mana of Lu Miaoge, who stood before him, was even more formidable than his own as the second-level foundation establishment Lu family ancestor. Amazed, he wondered what level of cultivation technique Lu Changsheng had given to Lu Miaoge, what type of Dao foundation she had condensed. To think that she was so powerful and remarkable as soon as she had broken through the foundation establishment stage. As the Tai True Water seeped into his body, he immediately felt his internal organs being nourished, slightly tingling. The organs that had been eroded by corpse poison, which he could only maintain by his own mana, now felt an unprecedented ease. Chapter 607. Zheng Family Vassal, Moving Out. After a moment, Uncle, how do you feel? Lu Miaoge released her hands, a fine sheen of sweat like delicate pearls forming on her fair, jade-like forehead. Although she had made a breakthrough to foundation establishment, condensing the Tai True Water to heal others significantly drained her mana. In just a short while, it consumed most of her mana. If she continued, it could harm her own vitality. Much better, Miaoge. Thanks for your hard work. Lu Yuanzhong voiced his gratitude to Lu Miaoge. His internal organs had significantly relieved. If he could be treated like this once a month, living several more decades wouldn't be a problem. Good, good, good. Today is truly a day of double, no, triple happiness. We must celebrate properly. Lu Yuanding, hearing this, laughed heartily. Today, his daughter had made breakthrough in foundation establishment, and his brother's condition was alleviated by his daughter's treatment, which meant he could live for many more years, a cause for celebration indeed. Adding in Lu Changsheng establishing Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, it was indeed triple happiness. Indeed, we should celebrate properly. However, about my condition, there's no need to reveal it to others. Now that Miaoge has made her breakthrough, and my condition has improved, people will instantly suspect it's related to Miaoge and Changsheng. There's a saying, the outstanding tree in the forest will be blown down by the wind. Changsheng's killing of the Yu family's 3 foundation establishment cultivators and establishing Blue Lake Mountain Lu family has put him in the limelight. If we spread too much news, it might bring unnecessary trouble to Changsheng. Lu Yuanzhong took a deep breath and spoke. You're right, Changsheng is currently drawing a lot of attention. Many families and powers must be watching him, so we should keep a low profile. Lu Yuanding nodded and spoke gravely. Lu Changsheng had been back from his foundation establishment for just over a year, and he had already killed 3 people from the Yu family and seized Blue Lake Mountain to establish his own family. Many people were aware of the situation at Qingzhou Mountain. They could likely guess that Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment had something to do with Lu Changsheng. Under these circumstances, spreading too much spectacular news could add trouble to Lu Changsheng's plate. After all, in the cultivation world, there were always individuals coveting others' opportunities. After chatting for a while, they announced to the family that Lu Miaoge had broken through to Foundation establishment. Instantly, the entirety of Qingzhou Mountain bubbled with excitement and celebration. Blue Lake Mountain. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao were preparing to head to Qingzhou Mountain to bring Lu Miaoyun and his other wives and children over. At that moment he received a letter from his son, Lu Xianji, saying that ancestor Zheng from Wugong Ridge Zheng family had come to visit. Lu Changxing had a significant impression of this ancestor Zheng. During his own second-rank talisman master ceremony, ancestor Zheng had personally offered a direct descendant with a 5th-grade spiritual root as a concubine to him. "I'll go take a look," Lu Changxing said to Ling Zixiao. He then headed to the mountain gate. Ancestor Zheng. Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised to see ancestor Zheng from the Zheng family outside the formation, his white hair showing signs of age, his face withered and shrouded with the aura of twilight. For years ago, although the man was old, he hadn't been in such a state. A Foundation establishment cultivator who had aged so much was likely to have only a few years left to live. "Lu Daoist, I hope you won't take offense at my sudden visit today," ancestor Zheng, his face wrinkled, a slight ingratiating smile on his face, said as he clasped his hands in a greeting. "Heh, ancestor Zheng's visit graces us greatly, please come in." Lu Changxing, having a hunch about the reason for ancestor Zheng's visit, invited him inside. In the past, the Zheng family had a good relationship with the Chen family. But since Red Leaf Valley Chen family was destroyed and ancestor Zheng's lifespan was waning, seeing no succession for his family, he chose to depend on Blue Lake Mountain Yu family. Now, with Blue Lake Mountain changing hands and the Yu family gone, ancestor Zheng naturally had to reconsider his position. Inside a grand hall, Lu Changxing took out some spiritual tea from his storage bag to entertain ancestor Zheng. "Lu Daoist, I won't beat around the bush. You must be aware of my Zheng family's situation." Ancestor Zheng made a bit of small talk, then got straight to the point, describing his family's predicament. He expressed that his own life wouldn't last much longer, with only a few years left at most. The only thing he couldn't let go of after death was the future of his family's descendants. Therefore, he was willing to submit to Blue Lake Mountain, asking for its protection and offering 3/10 of Wugong Ridge's profits to Blue Lake Mountain. "Ancestor Zheng, you jest. Our families are within sight of each other and should support one another as equals. There's no talk of submission." Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately voiced his refusal. He had discussed with Ling Zixiao recently, knowing that after killing the 3 Yu Family Foundation establishment cultivators and taking over Blue Lake Mountain, he had become the center of attention, watched by many. If he were to now accept the Wugong Ridge Zheng family as a vassal, it would completely put him in the spotlight. Moreover, his family understood their own affairs. With over 100 children in the growth stage, the entire family relied solely on him to oversee everything. Under these circumstances, where would he find the time and energy to worry about other families? Accepting the Zheng family as a vassal would mean more income from tributes and easier future marital connections, but the disadvantages far outweighed the benefits. Lu Changxing was very clear about what his family needed: to keep a low profile and grow steadily. With the system by his side, all he needed to do was peacefully cultivate his land, plant trees, raise fish, and take care of his children. Then, gradually, he would make a name for himself as Master Lu, the unparalleled expert of pills and talismans, and build the puppet factory he envisioned. In the future, his family wouldn't lack income and needn't get involved in trouble. Hearing Lu Changxing's refusal, a shadow of gloom flickered across ancestor Zheng's eyes. He sipped his tea lightly and smiled. "Lu Daoist, my Zheng family has a girl named Zheng Xiuyun, ancestor Zheng. If it's about taking her as a concubine, I might agree to this marriage proposal. But if you're proposing her as a wife, I must apologize." Lu Changxing, after hearing ancestor Zheng's proposition to marry a Zheng family girl with a 4th-grade spiritual root to him as his wife, meditated briefly before responding. Chapter 608. Zheng family vassal moving out. The situation of the Zheng family nowadays, It would be better to sell Wugong Ridge. With a 4th-grade spiritual root, sent to Qingyun sect, fully supported, she might as well not be able to establish her foundation. Yet they chose to marry such a family genius to oneself as a wife. With a 4th-grade spiritual root, Lu Changxing was naturally very pleased. But he still spoke out to refuse. In his view, once she became his wife, she would carry a certain significance. In the future, should the Zheng family face crisis, should he help or not? If he didn't help, it would seem too heartless of him, affecting his reputation. If he did help, then he would be asking for trouble. What difference would it be from the previous vassalage? Alas, the old man has caused disturbance and been presumptuous. Seeing that Lu Changxing decisively refused, Ancestor Zheng heaved a deep sigh and stood up to take his leave. As for being a vassal and marrying off a daughter, he roughly understood Lu Changxing's attitude. The latter did not wish to entangle himself in too many troublesome matters now. At most, he would remember the favor of marrying his daughter as a concubine and offer a little help. Ancestor Zheng, take care. Lu Changxing called out to see him off. As he reached the mountain gate, Lu Changxing looked at the old man before him with white hair, a withered face, and a slightly hunched figure, and sighed, Ancestor, you have devoted yourself wholeheartedly to the family. That is the family's fortune, but descendants have their own luck. Sigh, the younger generation in the family is unworthy. The old man really cannot rest assured, and moreover, how can we casually abandon the ancestral enterprise? I have made Lu Daoist laugh. Ancestor Zheng paused slightly when he heard this, and a bitter smile appeared on his face as he sighed. Then he piloted a spirit boat and left by Lake Mountain. Alas! Watching Ancestor Zheng leave, Lu Changxing shook his head. After speaking with Ling Zixiao, he rode the purple shuttle to Qingzhou Mountain to pick up Lu Miaoyun and the others. Half a day later, Lu Changxing arrived at Qingzhou Mountain. Great Elder! Great Elder! Uncle! The disciples of the Lu family looked at Lu Changxing with eyes full of respect and awe. After all, today's Lu Changxing was no longer simply the great elder of Qingzhou Mountain. He was the lord of Bai Lake Mountain who had single-handedly killed 3 Foundation establishment great cultivators. Lu Changxing, facing these greetings, nodded gently with a warm expression. Coming home naturally brought about a bustling and lively atmosphere. Yuna Huan, Bai Lake Mountain still lacks a few main wives. Would you be willing to come with me to Bai Lake Mountain? Lu Changxing smiled and said to Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan. The other concubines and maids were naturally needless to mention. But Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan, after all, were raised on Qingzhou Mountain. They were his wives. Thus, he would still ask them, showing respect for his wives. Yuna will follow husband's arrangements. I'll go. I have never been to Bai Lake Mountain. The 2 women said. One gentle and compliant, the other full of eagerness. Good, you 2 get ready. We will return to Bai Lake Mountain later. Lu Changxing nodded and spoke gently. Then he told the other wives and children in the family about this matter. He prepared to send the wives and children of the family to Bai Lake Mountain in 2 trips. After arranging the family affairs, Lu Changxing learned that Lu Miaoga had made her breakthrough to Foundation establishment and went to the back mountain cave abode. Sister Miaoga. Lu Changxing arrived at the peaceful and elegant cave abode. He immediately saw Lu Miaoga, exceptionally beautiful with an ethereal temperament, wearing white that surpassed snow, like a secluded orchid or a snow lotus of the heavenly mountains. Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised by the change in Lu Miaoga. He did not expect that a breakthrough in Foundation establishment would cause such a noticeable change in her. It was comparable to several years of his own cultivation of the immortal beauty technique. Changxing, you're back. Lu Miaoga opened her sparkling beautiful eyes and looked at Lu Changxing, her clear and stunning face involuntarily bursting into a happy smile. Sister Miaoga, congratulations on your Foundation establishment breakthrough. Lu Changxing stepped forward and held Lu Miaoga's slender hand, laughing as he spoke. No matter the changes, she was still his wife, and her hand was as soft as ever. Thanks to you, Changxing. Lu Miaoga spoke softly, her beautiful eyes filled with starlight reflecting his figure. After experiencing the breakthrough in foundation establishment, she clearly realized its difficulty. If it were a normal situation, without the foundation establishment elixir, the Tai Dao seed, her chances of breaking through to foundation establishment would be minuscule. Even if she were lucky enough to succeed, the Dao foundation she could condense would likely be cracked or deficient. It would not be as achievable as it is now. We are husband and wife, why say such things? Lu Changxing laughed. Afterward, the two expressed their longing and deep feelings for each other. Later, Lu Changxing stated that he planned to bring all the wives and children of the family to Bai Lake Mountain this time. He asked Lu Miaoge what her plans were for the future. Since it's all settled, I naturally have to go over there and have a look. However, given the current situation of our ancestor, I still need to stay here. Moreover, our family is hosting a banquet in half a month to celebrate. Lu Miaoge spoke in a soft, gentle voice, like water. Alright, well, go to Bai Lake Mountain for a look first. Well, come back when it's time. Lu Changxing said upon hearing this. When the Lu family held a banquet for Lu Miaoge, of course, he would participate. Okay. Lu Miaoge replied softly. By the way, Sister Miaoge, how effective is the Tai True Water? Lu Changxing inquired about the Tai True Water. Though he completely understood this cultivation technique through the system inheritance, he wasn't sure about the specific effects. After all, it also related to the mana and Dao foundation conditions of each individual. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge placed her delicate hand on Lu Changxing's chest, channeled her mana, and was enveloped by an azure halo. Is this the Tai True Water then? Lu Changxing felt the Tai True Water permeating his chest. He only sensed a very comfortable feeling throughout his body, a warm current flowing, his spirit being restored. You have no injuries and your mana and roots are incredibly robust, so the Tai True Water doesn't have any obvious effect on you. Chapter 609, Zheng Family Vassal, Moving Out. _4, previously I used Tai True Water to treat the old ancestors' injuries, and it had a noticeable effect, Lu Miaoge said softly. I have examined the old ancestors' injuries before. My sword qi can remove the corpse poison from him, but since the poison has entered his organs, causing severe decay, I dare not detoxify him rashly. If the old ancestor's organs are much recovered, I could attempt to detoxify him then, Lu Changxing said when he heard this. He had previously checked Lu Yuanzhong's condition. Because the corpse poison had deeply corroded the organs, he dared not use 7 luminaries' sword qi to detoxify him. Lu Miaoge nodded lightly when she heard this. By the way, Sister Miaoge, you'll also need to see to Zishao when the time comes. Previously, when Zishao broke the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation, she overexerted her mana, causing her meridians and dantian to suffer no small damage. Lu Changxing continued. Okay, Lu Miaoge responded in a gentle voice. After a tender moment with Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing went to visit Lu Yuanding, intending to take his wife, concubines, and children to Bai Lake Mountain. During the family banquet he, along with Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, and Lu Miaoyun, would come over. At the same time, he said that the formation of Bai Lake Mountain needed to be rearranged, and that some array masters would be needed for the task, hoping that the Lu family could help arrange it. After all, rearranging a family's great formation was a massive undertaking, not something one person could complete in a short amount of time. Especially since Ling Zixiao was currently in a weakened state, some array masters would be needed to assist with the arrangement. Okay, Changxing, leave these matters to me and I'll arrange them for you, Lu Yuanding immediately replied when he heard this. Over the many years, although the Lu family didn't have any advanced level array masters, they still knew quite a few. After assigning all his tasks, Lu Changxing remembered he had yet to pay a visit to the 4th elder. Immediately he called for Lu Miaoyun and, with his daughter Lu Yu, went to visit the 4th elder. Changxing, Qingzhou Mountain will always be your home. Come back and visit whenever you have time, the 4th elder said, clasping Lu Changxing's hand with an aged but loving expression. Of course, Grandma, you're welcome to visit Bai Lake Mountain anytime. By the way, Grandma, please keep this lifespan extension pill. With this, your health will improve, and you can travel between here and there often, Lu Changxing said upon hearing the old woman's words, taking out the lifespan extension pill from the storage bag. Originally, he had asked his children to give the fourth elder the lifespan extension pill. But the old person insisted on not accepting it and asked Lu Changxing to keep it for himself. Since it represents your heartfelt gesture, Grandma will accept it. The fourth elder looked at the lifespan extension pill in front of her and, seeing Lu Changxing's sincere face, felt greatly relieved in her heart. She had previously refused to accept the lifespan extension pill because she felt it was a waste for her to use it. Now, seeing the way Lu Changxing conducted himself, it was clear that he had a great opportunity ahead and would not miss the pill. If she were to refuse again, it would seem as though she was being overly delicate. Grandma, this is Daddy's intention. You should have accepted it long ago. You've always refused, and Daddy even said that my brother and I were useless, incapable of doing even this simple task. Lu Yu, standing beside her, pouted and acted spoiled while holding on to the fourth elder's arm. Hee, it's Grandma's fault for letting my little Yu feel wronged, the fourth elder said, patting the girl's head after hearing her words. Hee, the little girl has learned how to complain. Lu Changxing laughed and lightly flicked his daughter's forehead upon hearing this. Grandma, the comment caused the girl to cover her forehead with both hands, looking aggrieved as she turned to the fourth elder for comfort. Grandma, I heard that in the waters of Baishui Lake at Bai Lake Mountain, nearly every 10 years, a dragon carp emerges. When I catch the dragon carp in a few years, you mustn't be polite with me, Lu Changxing said as he saw the old woman accepting the lifespan extension pill, continuing the conversation. Good, then I'll count on Changsheng's fortune to let Grandma taste it too. The fourth elder smiled broadly upon hearing this. Daddy, I want to eat it too. The nearby Lu Yu suddenly got excited when she heard about the dragon carp and looked at her father. Eat. There's enough for everyone. Lu Changxing patted the little girl's head and said with a laugh, wondering just how big the dragon carps in Bai Lake Mountain were. If they were similar in size to the red-blooded carps, given how many people there were in the family, they might not even get an equal share of the soup. After visiting the fourth elder and as the sky darkened, Lu Changxing stayed at Qingzhou Mountain for one night. The next day, he led his throng of wives, concubines, and children in grand procession towards Bai Lake Mountain. Meanwhile, a middle-aged man dressed in a black brocade robe with a dark and slightly rigid face arrived outside a valley built along a river. Shaojing Mountain. It is said that the people from the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain were previously driven here by Lu Changxing. Indeed, this is what the righteous path looks like, always concerned with keeping up appearances. The man in the black robe looked at Shaojing Mountain, sneering, his eyes flickering with a hint of crimson. Then he turned into a wisp of black mist and flew towards Shaojing Mountain. Chapter 610. The Demon Path Engulfment, Family Rules. _1 Yu Ninghu, looking somewhat fatigued, returned to his cave dwelling. In recent days, not only did he have to pacify the clan members who relocated to Shaojing Mountain, but he also had to stabilize the clan members outside, truly exhausting both mind and body. Moreover, whenever he sat down to cultivate, the death of his family's elder would always emerge in his mind. Thinking of the state of his family's spiritual land, he felt that he had let down his ancestors. He knew that if this continued for a long time, his mental state would inevitably be affected, and he might even succumb to the invasion of a heart demon. But even being aware of that, he couldn't let go. This Shaojing Mountain was only a first-grade middle-grade spirit vein with sparse spiritual energy, hardly sufficient for his cultivation. If he cultivated daily, absorbing spiritual energy, it would severely impact the cultivation of the clan's younger generation. And he and his family were to be trapped here for 10 years. In these 10 years, his path of cultivation would be all but destroyed. If this continued, how could his family possibly hope for revenge? Moreover, he was well aware that these 10 years were merely Lu Changsheng's delaying tactic. The reason the other party did not kill him or act against his family was just to save face. It was to allow his kin, who were outside, to smoothly take over the family's businesses. Once the other party stabilized the situation and was free to act, they might very well move against his family. And even though he was conscious of all these issues, there was nothing he could do. A second-rank spiritual contract, an oath bound by a heart demon, while it might not lead to death, the backlash could cause one to fall from foundation establishment back to qi refinement. What's more, Lu Changxing made the Ji family a vassal. Some of them continue to stay here, keeping an eye on his family. Any abnormality from his family would immediately be reported to by Lake Mountain. Damn it. Thinking of these matters, Yuninghu once again couldn't help feeling restless. Just as he walked into the cave dwelling, Yuninghu saw the twisted shadows on the ground and suddenly sensed something was wrong. The next moment, swoosh! A black shadow appeared, instantly reaching in front of Yuninghu. The speed was incredibly fast, and within the confined cave dwelling, Yuninghu had no chance to avoid it. He could only circulate his mana and hastily form a protective mana shield. Bang! The black shadow shattered Yuninghu's mana shield with a strike to the chest, causing his body to fold, coughing up fresh blood, and his whole body felt numb. At the same time, several pitch-black chains appeared, piercing and binding Yuninghu's limbs. Who are you? Yuninghu spoke without expression, enunciating each word. As long as we wait for this Lu Changxing to go to Qingyun sect, I can take the opportunity to sneak into by Lake Mountain and capture Ling Zixiao. By then, I would be able to peer into Lu Changxing's opportunities and secrets through her and take the opportunity to capture Lu Changxing. The man in the black robe's dark eyes glinted crimson, and he sneered. Wake up! Afterward, he looked at Yuninghu and snapped his fingers. This? Yuninghu, with a blank expression, came back to his senses and his eyes immediately filled with an expression of terror. Although he had been in a dazed, unconscious state just a moment ago, he retained a rough memory of it. He hadn't expected to have just escaped the wolf's den to enter the tiger's mouth. The man before him was clearly a demon cultivator. Because of the commotion caused by Lu Changxing, he had set his sights on Lu Changxing's fortune. He wanted to use his family to usurp Lu Changxing's opportunity. While he would certainly be willing to do this, fearing that if he colluded with a demon cultivator, the Qingyun sect might issue a warrant for his family's extermination. You have my corpse seed inside you, so don't even think about breaking free. Chapter 611. The Demon Path Engulfment, Family Rules. As long as you do a good job for me, you won't lack benefits, he said. After I deal with Lu Changxing, your family can take the opportunity to take back by Lake Mountain. The man in the black robe revealed a sinister smile, patted Yuninghu on the shoulder, and spoke aloud. After that, he transformed into a wisp of black mist and disappeared without a trace. The Xiahou family, watching the departing figure of the man in the black robe, Yuninghu stood still for a long time, his body rigid, his hands clenched into fists, and his face grim and ugly. He was considering whether to go to Qingyun sect and report the other party. Qingyun sect still had a bounty out for the Xiahou family. But the thought of the other party's unfathomable disappearance, like a ghost, and the corpse seed planted within him. He feared that as soon as he set out to report to Qingyun sect, he would face the other party's retaliation. At that time, the entire Yu family would be unable to escape calamity. Damn it! Yuninghu gnashed his teeth, his hands tightly clenched into fists, feeling a deep sense of powerlessness. Initially, when the old ancestor died, he had to give up by Lake Mountain, the foundation of their family, to preserve it. Now, targeted by a demon cultivator, he was caught between a rock and a hard place, plunging his entire family into a life-or-death crisis. Now that I have no choice, instead of sitting here waiting to die, it's better to fight with all my might. As long as I can get revenge and break the situation, what does it matter if I join the demon path? Yuninghu's face turned grim, his pupils clouded with darkness. It took 3 days for Lu Changxing to bring all his wives, concubines, and children to Bai Lake Mountain. Currently, Bai Lake Mountain felt vast and empty to the people of the Lu family, so they all moved into Baiyun Peak. Relocating to a new home, these wives, concubines, and children were all incredibly happy, choosing their own houses and courtyards, repairing and redecorating them. The Jinyang Hall at the top of Baiyun Peak was also renamed Changxing Hall by Lu Changxing, who had it simply refurbished. He planned to redesign it according to his taste when he found time. At this moment, inside Changxing Hall, Ling Zixio's face was pale as she lay on a white jade bed. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge were sitting by her side. Then, Lu Miaoge stretched out her fair hand, surrounded by a deep blue halo, and placed it on Ling Zixio's lower abdomen. Using the Tai True Water, she was treating and nourishing Ling Zixio's withered meridians and dantian. The reclining Ling Zixiao immediately felt an infinitely vital warm current seeping into her dantian. Her withered and fragile dantian felt like a parched branch receiving nourishment, starting to sprout new life. After a while, Lu Miaoge's forehead was dotted with fine beads of sweat, and she gently withdrew her hand, exhaling softly. "Zixiao, how do you feel?" Lu Changxing, watching the scene unfold, asked. "Under the Tai True Water, I feel like my dantian is being revitalized." Ling Zixio's pallid and graceful face brightened with joy. To treat and regulate the meridians and dantian is extremely difficult. It can only rely on treasured elixirs for gradual nourishment over time. Moreover, her meridians and dantian were shriveled and fragile due to the long-term scorching of the dragon roar of yang energy. Unless aided by a third-rank healing holy medicine or some precious natural treasures, there would be hardly any effect. But now, the Tai True Water, condensed by Lu Miaoge's mana, was apparently nourishing her dantian significantly. She felt that as long as she refrained from using her mana carelessly and continued to be nourished in this way, she might have a chance to recover in about 10 years. To cultivators, 10 years might sound long, but it's not that much. Especially for someone like Ling Zixiao, who could see hope. Moreover, Lu Changxing would also warm and nourish her physical Dao foundation and meridians and dantian on regular days. Once her meridians and dantian had recovered to a certain extent, she could start recultivating and healing on her own. So, this period would be significantly shortened. "Miaoge, thank you for your hard work." Ling Zixiao sat up slightly and thanked Lu Miaoge, who was sitting beside her. She could see that such treatment was quite draining for Lu Miaoge and considerably hindered her cultivation. "Sister Zixiao, you're too kind." Lu Miaoge gently wiped away the sweat and responded with a soft and gentle laugh. What a transformation in such a short time. Looking at Lu Miaoge, whose appearance was pure, ethereal, and tranquil as water, Ling Zixiao was astonished. She wondered what Lu Changxing had done or what cultivation technique he had taught Lu Miaoge, such that after her breakthrough, she experienced such a remarkable change. At least peripheral sect level, possibly even orthodox level cultivation techniques. Ling Zixiao thought to herself. From the Tai True Water treatment just now, she could sense that Lu Miaoge's foundation was very solid. There was a breath in her mana that was natural, capable of nurturing all things, and cleansing impurities. She guessed that the cultivation technique practiced by Lu Miaoge was at least a peripheral sect-level technique, or even one of the orthodox-level cultivation techniques. Only then could Lu Miaoge have such an astonishing change in a short time. Otherwise, based on their previous interactions, her understanding of Lu Miaoge as a daughter of a small family was that without a significant opportunity, reaching the foundation establishment might be as far as she could go in her life. It's good that it's useful. "Sister Miaoge, he'll have to trouble you with Zixiao from now on." Lu Changxing responded with a smile upon hearing this. "We're all family, what's the trouble?" Lu Miaoge's voice was gentle and harmonious, as tranquil as water. Ever since she began cultivating the water of virtue technique, she had become more peaceful and natural. "Family, huh?" Ling Zixiao murmured to herself upon hearing this. Her pale and graceful face bloomed into a smile, bright and captivating. "By the way, Sister Miaoge, take these harmonizing energy elixirs and origin nurturing elixirs." At this moment, Lu Changxing seemed to remember something and took out several small containers from his storage bag. Back in Jiuxiao Immortal City, he had crafted quite a few foundation establishment stage elixir medicines to increase his cultivation level. Chapter 612. The Demon Path Engulfment, Family Rules. But before he had a chance to use them, he had already broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Although elixir medicines could still be consumed at the middle stage of foundation establishment, their efficacy would relatively decrease. It would be better to give these elixir medicines to Lu Miaoge for cultivation. In this way, Lu Miaoge's cultivation wouldn't be too delayed while treating Ling Zixiao. So many elixir medicines? Lu Miaoge looked at all these bottles and jars with some surprise. She knew that second-rank elixir medicines were very rare and not easy to buy on a regular basis. I had some fortune before and received an alchemy inheritance, and without realizing it, I became a second-rank alchemist. All these elixir medicines were made by me, so feel free to use them. Lu Changxing said with a laugh. He disclosed his identity as a second-rank alchemist. He planned to gradually reveal his alchemy skills to the outside world. Therefore, he didn't keep it from Lu Miaoge any longer and directly told her about it. Although it was somewhat sudden, considering the cultivation techniques and foundation establishment elixirs previously, Lu Miaoge should have a certain capacity for acceptance. What? A second-rank alchemist? Changxing, you're saying you've become a second-rank alchemist, and you made these elixir medicines yourself? Lu Miaoge's face showed a look of shock and astonishment. Even though she knew her husband had many fortuitous encounters and secrets, and that he was even more impressive than she had imagined, she couldn't help but be amazed. After all, this was about being an alchemist. A second-rank alchemist at that. Lu Changxing had actually become a second-rank alchemist without anyone noticing. This was truly astonishing. But thinking about Lu Changxing's performance over the past year, she gradually came to terms with it. She felt that a second-rank alchemist seemed reasonable. After all, orthodox level cultivation techniques, perfect foundation base, and defeating 3 foundation establishment cultivators each was more astounding than being a second-rank alchemist. She was just surprised because she had a clear understanding of what a second-rank alchemist was. Techniques like orthodox level cultivation techniques and perfect foundation base had already surpassed her comprehension. Yes, Sister Miaoge, I never had the chance to tell you before, Lu Changxing said somewhat sheepishly. If you had told me before, I would have thought you were joking, Lu Miaoge said softly, her beautiful eyes brimming with emotion. She understood revealing such incredible talent too early without the strength to back it up could attract trouble. Moreover, Lu Changxing would not have been believed to be a second-rank alchemist without demonstrating it to her in person. It looked as though she had thought of something and turned to Lu Changxing. Changxing, was your talisman-making skill already at the second rank a long time ago? Not exactly a long time ago, Lu Changxing replied sheepishly. Doesn't that mean when I was advising you on talisman making, you actually already knew how to do it, just pretending to be clueless? Lu Miaoge said in a sweet voice. She thought about how earnestly she had advised Lu Changxing on talisman making and exchanged experiences on the talisman path with him. Looking back on it now, it felt embarrassing. How could that be? I didn't know much when I was self-taught at the beginning. If it weren't for your guidance and advice back then, Sister Miaoge, how could I have made such fast progress in the talisman path? Lu Changxing said, holding his wife's hand and laughing. Lu Miaoge let out a playful hum, not believing his words at all. She knew Lu Changxing was just humoring her to make her happy. Ling Zixiao, watching this scene, felt somewhat amused, thinking that Lu Changxing indeed kept his talents well hidden. But seeing the couple so intimately close, she felt a different kind of emotion stirring inside her. It's all my fault, I shouldn't have kept it from you all this time, I will make it up to you now and apologize properly, Lu Changxing said as he embraced Lu Miaoge, pressing his lips tenderly against hers and speaking gently. He was prepared to try the dual cultivation of the Tai Shengshui Ju to see the effects of nourishing with the origin source. Lu Miaoge let out a sultry moan, her face incredibly flushed. She lightly punched Lu Changxing, indicating that Ling Zixiao was still there. Ling Zixiao let out a light chuckle at the scene. Even though she wouldn't mind watching the intimate display, she could see that Lu Miaoge was relatively conservative by nature and stood up to leave the cave dwelling. As Ling Zixiao walked away, Lu Maiage's tense body gradually relaxed. A moment later, Sister Miaoge, begins cycling your cultivation technique. Lu Changsheng said softly to Lu Miaoge. The two of them circulated their cultivation techniques, and under the intermingling of yin and yang energies, a trace of origin source was gradually formed. Lu Changsheng tried to cycle his cultivation technique, letting this trace of origin source bathe his Dao foundation. It doesn't work, does it? Seeing that this trace of origin source had no significant effect on his Dao foundation, Lu Changsheng sighed softly. Knowing that his Dao foundation was probably at a certain limit. Could the yin-yang fish transformed from the yin-yang energies assimilate this trace of origin source? Lu Changsheng suddenly thought that his yin-yang 5 elements foundation base's yin-yang energies could devour the origin source of a spiritual body, thus transforming. So, could it digest this origin source as well? But since his yin-yang energies were still recovering from nourishing Ling Zixio's Dao foundation a few days before, he would have to try next time. Immediately, he and Lu Miaoge continued to operate their cultivation techniques, refining Lu Maiage's Dao foundation with this trace of origin source, which still had some effect on Lu Miaoge. If the two of them continuously engaged in dual cultivation, then it was likely Lu Maiage's Dao foundation could also undergo a transformation. Afterward, Lu Changsheng inquired about the peculiarities of Lu Maiage's Dao foundation. A perfect foundation base, besides being more robust than ordinary ones, also has certain characteristic benefits, like his own Dao foundation's yin-yang energies. Xiaoxia's Dao foundation enhances the absorption and refining speed of nature's spiritual energy. My Dao foundation imbues my mana with grandeur and vastness, with a deep and long-lasting essence. With each breath, I can recover mana at a rate several times that of ordinary people, Lu Miaoge said softly, describing the effect of her Dao foundation. It's quite similar to what the Water of Virtue technique records. Chapter 613. The Demon Path Engulfment, Family Rules. _4. Although influenced by my Tai Dao seed, and thus sharing more similarities, the cultivation technique essentially remains unchanged, except for the difference in the strength of the Dao Foundation's effects. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly upon hearing this, gaining a general understanding of Lu Maiage's situation. Lu family mansion. Tiaoer, you've done well. Married into the Lu family for half a year and now carrying an heir, this superior-grade magic robe and 3 supreme talismans are your father-in-law's rewards. That day, Lu Changsheng learned of some news. His son, Lu Xianxi's wife, Su Tiaoer, was pregnant. As the first daughter-in-law of his own who possessed a spiritual root, he naturally wouldn't be stingy now that she was carrying a child. He generously awarded her. Su Tiaoer was completely taken aback by such a generous reward. She came from a minor qi refinement family. Although she was the legitimate daughter with decent conditions, she would only receive 10 spirit stones a month. Now, just for being pregnant, her father-in-law bestowed upon her a superior-grade magic robe and 3 supreme talismans, leaving her somewhat at a loss. A superior-grade magic robe was worth 600 or 700 spirit stones. Plus, the 3 supreme talismans meant that this single gesture was valued at 1,000 spirit stones. Such a generous act truly astounded her. Tiaoer, this is your father-in-law's intention, you can accept it with peace of mind. Lu Miaoyun, seeing this, stepped forward and said to Su Tiaoer, "Thank you for my father-in-law's gracious gift." Su Tiaoer then bent forward to express her gratitude. She had initially been sent by her father to serve Lu Changsheng as a maid. But in the end, she married Lu Xianji and became his wife. Originally, she thought that with over 100 children and her husband just being a 9th-grade spiritual root, he wouldn't be particularly favored or valued by Lu Changsheng. However, after marrying into the Lu family, she discovered that her father-in-law treated his children exceedingly well, beyond reproach. As his daughter-in-law, she now felt fortunate to benefit from this for the first time. Xianji, now that Tiaoer is pregnant, you should take good care of her on a daily basis. You don't need to be so busy with affairs. Lu Changsheng spoke out. He understood his son's character very well. Although his spiritual root talent was lacking, He was very serious about his work. When he asked him to learn puppetry, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to mastering the puppetry technique. When he asked him to consider starting a family, he followed the family's arrangements. These days, as he had been tasked with overseeing family affairs and understanding by Lake Mountain's business, most of his time was consumed by these duties. Yes, Father, I understand, Lu Xianji bowed immediately in response. Good, Lu Changxing gave a few more instructions to his son and then let him take Su Tiaoer away. Yuner, regarding the family system, you should take the time to draft rules and regulations. At this moment, Lu Changxing looked towards Lu Miaoyun and spoke. Today, Su Tiaoer's pregnancy made him realize that the family system needed refinement. Back in Qingzhou Mountain, he was very casual. He let Lu Miaoyun manage and allocate the Red Leaf Valley Cave dwelling, the Lu family's 100 mu of spirit fields, and his own contribution points. The cultivation resources and spirit stones for the children's rearing were all approximate, without strict rules. Such an approach could work for a small household. But now that they had established a family, as the children grew up and started forming their own families, a set of rules and regulations was naturally necessary. Husband, can you take a look at this set of family rules and regulations from Qingzhou Mountain? Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyun brought out the rules and regulations from Qingzhou Mountain for Lu Changxing to review. Raise the welfare and benefits for each person slightly, then, for female cultivators who marry into our Lu family, they are now part of the Lu family, and the treatment should be the same for everyone. The same applies to those who marry into the family. Furthermore, encourage childbirth, and as long as a child is born, there will be a reward. If the child is found to have a spiritual root, grant an additional reward. And until the child turns 20, all expenses will be borne by the family. After reviewing it, Lu Changxing thought for a while and made several suggestions. In his view, having children was essential, a tradition of his own family. However, he didn't want to rush marriages. But he would encourage and compensate for childbirth through rewards. After all, childbirth could certainly affect a cultivator's cultivation under certain conditions. This welfare policy was also intended to make female cultivators willing to marry into his family and have more children. Having said that, he added, regarding the secular side, there should also be a general charter, but change the rewards a bit, given in spirit rice, spiritual objects, and the like. You can find out what the children want in this regard, and ask Sister Miaoga, Zi Shao and the others for suggestions. Lu Changxing conveyed such sentiments. All right, he'll talk to Sister Miaoga, Sister Zi Shao and the others later, and then ask the children what they would like. Lu Miaoyun replied upon hearing this. She thought to herself how her husband had indeed not changed his fondness for children in any way, no matter what. Now that she was having fewer children, he was beginning to encourage the children to have more. By the way, Yuner, after the establishment of the clan ceremony, Lu Changxing spoke up, expressing his plan to hold a wedding ceremony for Chu Xinjin and others after the clan establishment ceremony. This was a promise he had once made to Chu Xinjin, Lu Lanshu, and others. And he announced that he would elevate all the maids in the house to the status of concubines. Then, as for concubines, they would be classified into 9 grades. Each grade would receive different treatment. For now, the gradation would start from the 9th grade. In the future, promotions would be based on family contributions, children's accomplishments, and the honor brought by a son. He also wanted Lu Miaoyun not to do everything by herself. She could assign some duties to the junior concubines and maids in the house, such as providing enlightenment education for the children, or cultivating spirit plants, growing spiritual medicine, rearing spirit fish, and so on. All right, Lu Miaoyun immediately nodded in agreement when she heard this. She knew that the current maids in the house had almost all given birth to 5 or 6 children for Lu Changxing. Among these children, many possessed the spiritual root. Now that they were establishing their own family, Lu Changxing was willing to give the children's mothers a status. Otherwise, constantly being referred to as maids would always sound somewhat unseemly. Oh, and Yuner, keep these cultivation techniques, Lu Changxing said as he handed the purple true solar scripture, green wood sunfire technique, sun daylight sword scripture, lunar solar sword scripture, Venus solar sword technique, Jupiter wood sword scripture, Saturn solar sword technique, Mars solar sword technique, Earth solar sword technique, 9 exquisite level cultivation methods, and 5 high-grade cultivation techniques to Lu Miaoyun to manage and assign to the children. Aside from Lu Pingan, the other children in the family were still practicing the returning origin technique. Previously, he thought it was inconvenient to teach them, but now that the family was established, Lu Changxing naturally wouldn't keep hiding these techniques. As for the peripheral sect level and orthodox level cultivation techniques, which greatly depended on one's insight, he would transmit them personally as he saw fit. So many cultivation techniques, Lu Miaoyun was shocked to see these techniques. It was common knowledge that in the cultivation world, the transmission of cultivation techniques was extremely rare and ordinary people rarely had a chance to obtain any such methods. Otherwise, Qingzhou Mountain wouldn't have just a few high-level techniques. In the past, your husband came across some opportunities. These techniques will be the Lu family's treasured cultivation methods in the future. You know, you must keep them well guarded, he told her. If a child shows talent and insight, they can be allowed to practice these few manuals. If their insight is just average, they should practice the basic techniques. Lu Changxing was introducing these techniques to Lu Miaoyun. He indicated that if the wives and concubines in the family wanted to cultivate, they could also choose from these methods, and if they were unsure about which one to pick, they could consult Ling Zixiao for assistance. Don't worry, husband, Yuna will do her best. Lu Miaoyun nodded vigorously. After all, Lu Changxing entrusting so many cultivation methods to her spelled immense trust. It was known that a single technique often set the limit to a person's cultivation. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. The family banquet hosted by Qingzhou Mountain for Lu Miaoge was about to begin. Lu Changxing accompanied Lu Miaoge, with Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenjin in tow, to attend. The family banquet was very lively. Even though it was a family affair, mostly involving one's own people, there would still be family forces coming to deliver gifts and congratulations. Especially since the recent events at Bai Lake Mountain had brought Qingzhou Mountain into full limelight. Since establishing a family required registration with the Qingyun sect within a month, Lu Changxing, after the banquet, briefed Ling Zixiao and then set off for Qingyun sect. Chapter 614, Yun Wanshang. How did he come to Qingyun sect? _ 3 days later. Qingyun sect. Lu Changxing looked into the distance at the Qingyun sect surrounded by misty, continuous mountains, bathed in the rosy glow of dawn, and let out a breath. Since being rejected in the Immortal sect's assessment at Qingyun sect over 20 years ago, he had never returned. As a mortal back then, he found the sight of Qingyun sect to be a wondrous fairyland that left him in awe. Now, after so many years in the cultivation world, having seen small families, marketplaces of all sizes, and immortal cities, Lu Changxing truly grasped the grandeur and vastness of Qingyun sect. Under the bright sunlight, a great formation resembling an upside-down bowl of white jade glass radiated thousands of rays of light and colorful auroras, enveloping dozens of mountain peaks within. One could vaguely see on the straight, towering peaks, the construction of palaces, pavilions, and terraces, and several waterfalls like jade dragons cascading from the mountaintops, majestic beyond words. In the deepest part of the mountains, shrouded in mists, there appeared to be a floating palace. Like a heavenly city, it inspired awe and a sense of invisible oppression, as if one was as insignificant as an ant. Most families and marketplaces use great formations to shroud and hide their internal details, making it hard to see clearly. But Qingyun sect openly displays theirs as a form of deterrence. Lu Changxing sighed with emotion. Afterward, steering his flying shuttle at a slower pace, he headed towards the gate of Qingyun sect. Who goes there? At the gate of Qingyun sect, 2 disciples guarding the mountain approached Lu Changxing for questioning. They were both at the Qi refinement stage, but seeing Lu Changxing's foundation establishment aura, they were fairly polite. Lu Changxing here is planning to establish a family under Qingyun's jurisdiction and has come to the supreme sect to register and record. Lu Changxing said, clasping his hands in a salute. Establishing a family, registering and recording? Upon hearing this, the two disciples nodded, immediately requested Lu Changxing to relay all the information for recording. Lu Changxing by Lake Mountain? Are you the senior Lu Changxing who single-handedly killed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators? One of the disciples showed a surprised expression upon hearing Lu Changxing mentioned by Lake Mountain. The news of Lu Changxing's act of killing 3 members of the Yu family and establishing himself at By Lake Mountain had caused quite a stir. Since By Lake Mountain was not too far from Qingyun's sect, this disciple had some knowledge about it. Indeed, it is I. Lu Changxing replied with a smile. All right, please wait patiently, Senior Lu, I will notify them immediately. The Qingyun sect disciple became even more courteous after hearing his words. After all, there are differences even among Foundation establishment cultivators. Lu Changxing clearly was no ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. Although they were disciples of an immortal sect, their future prospects of breaking through Foundation establishment were not great. If they could make the acquaintance of such a figure and leave a good impression, who knows, it might be of help in the future. Thank you. Lu Changxing took out 2 middle-grade spirit stones, giving a slight bow. He then inquired how long this kind of matter typically took. They responded that such matters were handled by the record hall. If the record elder was busy, it might take 2 or 3 days. If not busy, it could usually be done on the same day. Hearing this, Lu Changxing nodded, then waited calmly on the side. During the wait, he saw some disciples of Qingyun's sect going out or returning. He wondered if Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing were at the sect. Although he didn't interact much with them, since he was already at Qingyun's sect, he thought it proper to meet and catch up. And there was his brother-in-law, Xia Zhaoyang. His concubine, Xia Zizhu, had informed him that Xia Zhaoyang had made a breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. After the registration is finished, he'll send a message for a reunion. Lu Changxing exhaled softly, planning to first take care of the formalities. Meanwhile, at Shaojing Mountain, inside a cave dwelling, I've received word that Lu Changxing has already arrived at Qingyun sect. Don't worry, as long as you cultivate the technique I gave you, this second-rank spiritual contract will resolve by itself. At worst, there'd be a slight backlash, not enough to cause your cultivation realm to fall. Once I handle Lu Changxing and obtain his fortune, I will then aid you in your recovery. The man in the black robe looked at Yuninghu before him with an eerie, rigid face and a smile, showing a ferocious and terrifying expression. Yes. Yuninghu took a deep breath and responded in a low voice. He knew he had no other choice. The other party's words were not a discussion, they were a command. Moreover, ever since that day he was forced to ingest the corpse incarnation, he felt a change in his body and something beyond his control. Start the cultivation technique. Seeing this, the man in the black robe slapped Yuningus back, his palm shrouded in black mist, making him start the cultivation technique. Qingyun sect. Kaiyun Peak. In the steamy spiritual pool, a fairy with snow-white shoulders and hair like a waterfall was sitting and bathing. After a long while, Yun Wanshang opened her beautiful eyes and rose from the spiritual pool. Her wet, black hair attached to her back that was frosty as snow, hanging down to her full, snow-white waist. This sight highlighted the stark contrast between her delicate, sense-stirring skin and her lustrous, black hair. Her perfect, graceful body stood erect, plump where it should be and slim where it should be, with the crystalline water droplets sliding down her snow-white skin, emanating a pure and noble aura. Her slender and rounded legs, straight and long, gracefully stepped out of the spiritual pool. Her exquisitely shaped feet, fair as carved ivory or sculpted snow, had nails painted with rouge, looking moist and enticing. She lifted her hands delicately, slipped on a white tube top undergarment, slid her legs into pants as smooth as jade, and draped over a colorful skirt embroidered with cloud patterns, her entire being exuding an aura of refined elegance. Arriving at her bedroom, Yun Wanshang noticed a palm-sized jade pendant with a cloud and mist design on her dressing table that was flickering with rosy light. Chapter 615, Yun Wansheng, How Did He Come to Qingyun's Sect? She looked at the jade pendant, furrowing her brows slightly, feeling a pause in her heart. This jade pendant was one of a pair with the He Guang Tong Chen jade she had initially given to Lu Changxing. Between the two jade pendants, there was a mutual sensitivity. This was also why she had given the He Guang Tong Chen jade to Lu Changxing initially, signaling a life-and-death crisis that could activate the jade pendant to call for help from her. Otherwise, like common communication tools, they would all have distance limitations. If it was too far away, there would be no way to sense it at all. How did he come to Qingyun's sect? Looking at the flowing halo of the jade pendant, Yun Wansheng knew that Lu Changxing must be within 100 miles of Qingyun's sect, or he had arrived at Qingyun's sect. Only at this distance would her own Jiyu Qingfeng jade feel a response. Yun Wansheng did not pay it any mind and stored the jade pendant in her storage ring. Ever since she learned about the affair between her disciple Xianxia and Lu Changxing, she had no wish to have any further involvement with Lu Changxing. She dismissed the idea of cultivating Lu Changxing, having the two become a Daoist couple, and dual cultivating the spirit-nurturing energy. Yun Wansheng sat in front of the vanity, gathering her hair into a bun and skewering it with a hairpin. Then with a fragrant stride, she stepped out of the grand hall, transforming into a rainbow of divine light, heading towards the enforcement hall. As a nascent soul immortal of Qingyun's sect and the peak master of Kaiyun Peak, she also served as the master of the enforcement hall. Due to incidents involving the demonic path, over the years, Qingyun's sect had captured many cultivators of the demonic path. Qingyun's sect naturally did not simply execute these demonic path cultivators. Such cultivators often possessed many secrets, related messages, or even cultivation techniques, incantations, and treasures. All of these were the responsibility of the enforcement hall to interrogate. After thoroughly extracting their value, these demon cultivators would then be either executed or used as labor, depending on the circumstances. Qingyun's sect. Record Hall. Lady Meng held a jade scroll, looking over one sect affair after another. Lu Changxing of Qingzhou Mountain has established a family on by Lake Mountain? Lu Changxing by Lake Mountain? At this moment, Lady Meng glimpsed a piece of information in her hand, her eyes narrowing slightly. She then thoughtfully opened another jade scroll. Inside, a vivid map emerged. With a slight mental command, she altered the map, and by Lake Mountain appeared. On it was information about the Yu family of by Lake Mountain. Looking at the information on the Yu family of by Lake Mountain, she turned to a disciple beside her and asked, "How did the Yu family of by Lake Mountain come to change masters?" Reporting to Elder Meng, as far as this disciple knows, initially, while the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain was breaking through to Foundation establishment, the patriarch of the Yu family took the opportunity to cause trouble. Then Lu Changxing alone killed 3 Foundation establishment ancestors of the Yu family and subsequently joined forces with the Hundred Birds Lake Bai family to demand justice, eventually forcing the Yu family to hand over by Lake Mountain as compensation, spoke the disciple of the Record Hall. Lu Changxing alone killed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. Upon hearing these words, Lady Meng's expression immediately darkened, and she grew colder. Because of the matter involving her grandson Meng Yibai, she had been keeping a covert watch on Xianxia. In the process, she learned that Lu Changxing and Xianxia had an unusual relationship, so she had investigated Lu Changxing. Seeing that he was just a junior from a small clan who had just broken through to Foundation establishment, she hadn't paid much attention. Now, hearing that Lu Changxing had killed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators on his own, she grew suspicious. She suspected that Lu Changxing was the one who had killed her grandson, Meng Yibai. After all, she had kept an eye on Xianxia for so many years, and it was only Lu Changxing and the loose cultivator Han Li who seemed to be close to Xianxia. Especially Lu Changxing. Her daughter was even willing to recognize Xianxia as her godmother. Originally, Lu Changxing had been just a junior who had barely broken through to Foundation establishment, and she hadn't taken him seriously. But now, she immediately suspected that Lu Changxing was hiding his true abilities. It was possible that the one who broke through to Foundation establishment with Xiaoxia might have been Lu Changxing. Otherwise, how could a mere son-in-law from a small clan possess such capability? To kill 3 Foundation establishment great cultivators right after breaking through to Foundation establishment. Instantly, Lady Meng's expression turned icy as she declared, Qingyun sect has a rule that within 3 years, no family power under its jurisdiction may engage in conflicts or wars. What's going on with Lu Changxing, to be so bold as to openly defy the rules and seize control of another clan's spiritual land? Lady Meng's aged face was full of authority as she spoke coldly. Although it was just a suspicion, when it came to her grandson's revenge, she was not willing to let it go. Moreover, she had always felt apprehensive about seeking vengeance. Apprehensive about offending Xiaoxia because of the false core formation master backing Lu Changxing. But now, with Lu Changxing falling into her hands, she could fully take advantage of Qingyun sect's name and rules under the pretext of this incident to capture Lu Changxing. Then, she would naturally come to know whether or not Lu Changxing was the perpetrator. If it wasn't Lu Changxing, then it wasn't. If it were truly done by Lu Changxing, she could not only seek revenge for her grandson, but also did not have to worry about the true immortal backing Lu Changxing. After all, would anyone dare to behave recklessly in the Qingyun sect? This disciple, upon hearing these words, immediately showed a look of surprise on his face and wanted to say that it was the Yu family who first violated the rules. But seeing the expression of Lady Meng, he quickly swallowed back the words he intended to say. After all, such matters seldom had clear boundaries. As long as it wasn't too excessive or outrageous, the Qingyun sect generally couldn't be bothered to deal with it. Even if they were to handle it, it would not be up to the record hall to decide, but rather the enforcement hall. Elder, this disciple does not know. The disciple said, lowering his head. With such a matter at hand, the enforcement hall has done nothing. I will report to the enforcement hall now and have the enforcement team apprehend this person to set an example. Lady Meng snorted coldly. Then, transforming into a dazzling rainbow, she headed to the enforcement hall to report the matter. Could it be that this Lu Changxing has offended Elder Meng in the past? Or does Elder Meng have a relationship with by Lake Mountain? Several disciples from the record hall looked at each other, speculating in their minds after witnessing this scene. They knew all too well that ever since Lady Meng's grandson was inexplicably slain, her mood had become unpredictable and mercurial. So, those disciples didn't dare to provoke her. Furthermore, no one would stand up for a loose cultivator at the Foundation establishment level and risk offending an elder of their own sect. They just felt pity for Lu Changxing, who had finally gained an opportunity to achieve something and was about to establish his own family, but had now run afoul of Lady Meng's ill humor. Outside the gates of Qingyun sect, Lu Changxing was still waiting for a reply. Just then, 2 imposing Foundation establishment cultivators wearing Qingyun robes approached the gate and called out, "Who is Lu Changxing?" "I am Lu Changxing." Hearing this, Lu Changxing responded, cupping his hands in greeting. But the appearance of these 2 individuals puzzled him. Both had a sharp and extraordinary presence. Especially on their disciple robes, there was a character. They didn't quite look like the clerks responsible for registration and record-keeping. "You are Lu Changxing, please come with us," one of the Foundation establishment cultivators said with a chilling gaze upon Lu Changxing, nodding his head before speaking. "May I know who you 2 are?" Lu Changxing's brow furrowed slightly as he sensed something amiss. Because the demeanor and tone of these 2 were completely different from the disciple he had spoken with before. Their eyes carried a hint of judgment, while their manner was somewhat commanding. Chu Tiange of the Qingyun sect's enforcement hall. The Qingyun sect has rules. Within 3 years of a major conflict, all families and powers under its jurisdiction are forbidden from waging war, and someone has reported that you forcefully seized the spiritual lands of another family. So come with us. One of the Foundation establishment cultivators spoke. Someone reported that I forcefully seized another family's spiritual lands? Lu Changxing's expression darkened slightly. When he seized by Lake Mountain, he did so in the name of Qingzhou Mountain, claiming the moral high ground. To avoid any trouble from Qingyun sect representatives and adhere to the rules, he had used conciliatory means. He let Ning Hu of the Yu family transfer the deed of the spiritual land as a form of compensation to him. This procedure was perfectly executed, with no issues, and was fully legitimate and beyond reproach. But now, the Qingyun sect was claiming that there had been reports of him forcefully seizing property. Lu Changxing immediately suspected that descendants of the Yu family within the sect had used some connection to report him. Otherwise, if it had been against the rules, the Qingyun sect should have contacted him much earlier. How could such an incident arise only after he came to the Qingyun sect to register? Let's go. The two enforcement disciples continued, looking at Lu Changxing while a magic chain artifact appeared in their hands, as if they were ready to act should Lu Changxing make any sudden moves. All right. Seeing this, Lu Changxing nodded. He followed the two enforcement disciples into the Qingyun sect. In such a situation, it would be utterly irrational to confront the Qingyun sect disciples. He wanted to see whether someone had reported him or if there was some other explanation. If it really was a report against him and the Qingyun sect intended to punish him, he figured that the Qingyun order given to him by Qiyun True Immortal would help resolve the matter. Chapter 616. Yun Wansheng, are you a breeding pig? _1 Enforcement Hall, within a side hall. Elder Meng, rest assured, the enforcement hall will certainly verify and handle this matter thoroughly. Once it's confirmed, we will punish the offenders severely. A middle-aged man with a jade crown, a face as white as jade, and wearing a dark magical robe, wore a smile as he assured the Elder Meng in front of him. He, Executor Yen can put his mind at ease. In matters such as these, I would naturally not spread falsehoods. Elder Meng revealed a smile on her withered face upon hearing this. While the enforcement hall represents the Qingyun sect's punishment and rules, where there are people, there are invariably personal connections and worldly considerations. As an outer sect elder of the Qingyun sect, asking the enforcement hall to handle such a vague small issue with a bit more severity was naturally a simple matter for her. After all, Lu Changxing was merely a cultivator from a minor family. The enforcement hall was also willing to give her this much face in such matters. Meanwhile, at the very top of the enforcement hall, within a solemn and awe-inspiring hall, Yun Wansheng was holding a jade scroll, examining various affairs. Just then she felt a sudden sensation. With a flip of her hand, the lunar wind jade appeared. 9 colors of splendid light danced upon the jade pendant, indicating that the He Guang Tongchen jade was right here in the enforcement hall. Yun Wansheng's brows knit slightly in surprise. She wondered to herself why Lu Changxing would come to the enforcement hall. Under normal circumstances, outsiders, barring disciples and prisoners, were not allowed near the enforcement hall. Could it be that he had lost the jade pendant? Extending her divine sense, she immediately saw 2 enforcement disciples escorting a young man who wore a green robe and had a handsome face, a tall stature, and an extraordinary demeanor, enter the enforcement hall. Although Lu Changxing looked considerably different in appearance and temperament, having only met him twice, she recognized him at a glance. Has he committed an offense and been brought here by the enforcement team? Yun Wansheng's brows furrowed slightly, and a hint of coldness appeared in her eyes. The enforcement hall had authority over the Qingyun sect's punishments and rules. It was specifically tasked with punishing traitors, those who violated sect rules, and handling heretic cultivators, robber cultivators, and demonic path cultivators. The fact that Lu Changxing had been brought to the enforcement hall meant he had committed an offense under the Qingyun's jurisdiction. But observing Lu Changxing's tidy appearance, not bound by spirit-locking chains, it didn't seem like he had been captured by enforcement disciples. It never occurred to him that such a trivial matter would alarm his own hall master, and he was instantly filled with dread. Yen Wuyun swallowed nervously, carefully inquiring, "Is the Lu Changxing that the hall master mentioned the same one reported by Elder Meng just now?" Elder Meng? Yun Wansheng's brows raised, and as her lips parted to speak, her voice was clear and cold. the cultivator that was just brought into the enforcement hall. Upon hearing this, Yan Wuyun felt extremely alarmed. He had not expected that his hall master would actually pay attention to such a minor figure like Lu Changxing. He didn't dare to think further and quickly bowed, reporting, "To report to the hall master, Elder Meng just arrived to accuse him, stating that this person, you haven't verified the matter and already brought the person to the enforcement hall? Since when did our enforcement hall's affairs start being dictated by a mere record-keeping elder? She tells you to take someone and you just do it?" Yun Wanshang's stunning face showed an indescribable coldness, her voice harsh and commanding. As a peak master and the enforcement hall master, she certainly was not a naive fool. After listening to Yan Wuyun's words, she instantly understood the situation. Most definitely, Lu Changxing had somehow offended Elder Meng. Chapter 617. Yun Wanshang, are you a breeding pig? Otherwise, why would a dignified false core immortal bother to report a Foundation establishment cultivator? And facing Lady Meng's accusation, Yan Wuyun, confronted with such a trivial matter, naturally would give face to her. As the master of the enforcement hall, she probably knew about these kinds of things and would turn a blind eye to them. But now, she had actually been accused of graft and corruption. "Master, it was a momentary oversight on my part. I will go verify and investigate immediately." Upon hearing these ice-cold and dignified words, Yan Wuyun immediately thumped to his knees and spoke out loud. At this moment, he was almost certain that his hall master knew Lu Changxing. Otherwise, why would his hall master pay attention to such a small matter, such an insignificant person? He couldn't help but curse Lady Meng in his heart. She was truly a troublemaker. Lu Changxing was acquainted with his own hall master, and yet you come to the enforcement hall to report against him, prompting me to commit injustice. Isn't this seeking death? Give me 15 minutes to verify the whole cause and consequences of the incident. Yun Wanshang's voice was cold and stern. The Qingyun sect, as a formidable immortal sect, had its own intelligence network. Events occurring under Qinjian's jurisdiction were all recorded. With an incident like Lu Changsheng's, one only needed to pull up the information to know at a glance. "Yes, master, I will go verify it now." Yan Wuyun, hearing this, hurriedly agreed and rose to deal with the matter. However, thinking of Lu Changxing, who had just been brought into the enforcement hall, his heart skipped a beat. The enforcement hall controlled the sect's laws and punishments, holding the power of life and death, and it was very normal for them to employ certain tactics. Immediately, he hurried to the main hall and upon seeing Lu Changxing brought in by Chu Tiange and another, quickly stepped forward and said, "You are Lu Changxing, correct?" "Great steward. Great steward." Chu Tiange and his companion immediately bowed their hands to Yan Wuyun as a gesture of respect. "I am indeed Lu Changxing. The possession of the spiritual land is legitimate, with the property contract of by Lake Mountain as my proof, and there is no such thing as robbery or occupation. May I ask the great steward, who has accused me of violent seizure?" Lu Changxing looked at Yan Wuyun in front of him and spoke in a deep voice. On his way over, he had inquired about the situation from Chu Tiange and his companion, who both said that he would find out once he arrived at the enforcement hall. This made him realize that it wasn't just a simple report from the Yu family's offspring. The Yu family had several members in Qingyun sect, but they were all in the Qi refinement realm. How could such disciples' accusations result in such an effect? I was just about to retrieve the information and verify the situation. Lu Daoist, please wait here for a moment. You can rest assured, we in the Qingyun sect handle matters with strictness, and there will absolutely be no corruption. We will not wrong anyone. Yan Wuyun spoke, saying so. Speculating that his hall master had a connection to Lu Changxing, how dare he handle this matter? Naturally, he would gather the intelligence information and wait for his hall master to deal with it. As for Lu Changxing, he did not dare to treat him negligently, fearing that it might be easy to invite trouble but hard to send it away. Lu Changxing looked at the polite manner of Yan Wuyun before him and was slightly stunned. Chu Tiange and his companion had just shown quite an overbearing attitude, but why was this great steward of the enforcement hall so courteous? Perhaps this was the so-called, "It is easy to meet the king of hell, but hard to deal with his underlings." Lu Changxing felt something was amiss. "Lu Daoist, please enjoy the tea. I shall return shortly," Yan Wuyun said as he cordially offered tea to Lu Changxing, then immediately turned into a streak of light and headed for the net tower to retrieve the intelligence information. Chu Tiange and his companion, witnessing this scene, looked at each other in confusion, not understanding what was going on. Their great steward's character, which others might not know, was crystal clear to them. He was known to be a smiling tiger. One moment he was instructing them to apprehend someone. Now he was being so courteous to Lu Changxing. There was definitely something wrong. However, given the circumstances, the two naturally would not say much and instead stayed quiet and waited on the side. After a quarter of an hour, Yan Wuyun retrieved all information related to Lu Changxing and by Lake Mountain from the net tower. So it turns out that Lu Changxing and Fairy Shiyu are close friends, Yan Wuyun said to himself after a quick review, gaining an understanding of the situation and letting out a sigh. In his heart, he roughly understood why Yin Wanshang had taken interest in Lu Changxing. After all, his hall master was famously protective of her own people. Since Lu Changxing was a good friend of Xianxia, Yun Wanshang naturally would not stand by and let him face this predicament. He returned to the top floor of the enforcement hall and bowed to Yun Wanshang, saying, "Master, I have ascertained the whole cause and consequences of the incident. Speak." Yun Wanshang didn't look up but commanded in a voice still cold and stern, making Yan Wuyun tremble inside. This incident originated from the Yu family of by Lake Mountain. Yan Wuyun began to explain the situation. Chapter 618. Yun Wanshang, are you a breeding pig? Could it be that one cannot live without women? Do you have detailed information about Lu Changxing? Yun Wanshang's red lips lightly pursed as she asked. She did want to see just how many women Lu Changxing was involved with. Hallmaster, as for information related to Lu Changxing, your subordinate has already obtained it. Yan Wuyun immediately produced a jade slip. Yun Wanshang's delicate hand lifted slightly, and her divine sense read the information from the jade slip. Lu Changxing, son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, Foundation Establishment Cultivator, 2nd grade Talisman Master. He has a total of 7 wives, 1 Dao companion, 13 concubines, and 153 children. Yun Wanshang looked at the message about Lu Changxing, a cold frost appearing on her face. She knew that Lu Changxing must have quite a few wives and children. So she wanted to take a look at the detailed information to see the specific situation of the other party. But she didn't expect the other party's situation to be so outrageous. 7 wives, 1 Dao companion, 13 concubines, and 153 children. The number of wives and concubines was one thing. But the number of children made her want to curse. Are you a breeding pig or what? If it hadn't been for the fact that this was information from the Qingyun sect and couldn't be wrong, she would have suspected a mistake in the record. Under these circumstances, he still managed to break through to Foundation Establishment? Yun Wanshang was somewhat dumbfounded. The intelligence information did say that Lu Changxing had broken through Foundation Establishment a year ago. But she knew that 8 years ago, Lu Changxing and her own disciple, Xianxia, had broken through to Foundation Establishment together at Qingyun Market. With such spiritual root talent, indulging in lust every day, and not only breaking through Foundation Establishment but also doing so quickly, Yun Wanshang was very confused and couldn't figure it out. If it were the demon path or heretical path, she might barely understand. But she still remembered that when she initially investigated Lu Changxing, his cultivation of both magical arts and physical body was robust and impressive, clearly not some despicable heretical cultivation method. Damn it! Yun Wanshang thought about the fact that she had had a one-night affair with such a man who had taken away her spirit-nurturing energy. And her disciple, Xianxia, had unclear ties with Lu Changxing, which made her feel annoyed and upset. Her hand holding the jade slip even trembled a bit with anger. She wished she could just slay Lu Changxing with one sword. To have him thrown into the heavenly punishment platform to suffer the torture of 1,000 punishments. Why would Lady Meng report this Lu Changxing? Yun Wanshang pondered in her heart and couldn't help but think of something. 8 years ago, the grandson of Lady Meng, core disciple Meng Yibai of Qingyun sect, was killed. Initially, the enforcement hall had sent someone to investigate, but it came to nothing in the end. As the enforcement hall master, she had learned that this matter might be related to her disciple Xianxia. At that time, she had also questioned Xianxia, but Xianxia had claimed she knew nothing about it. Now knowing Lu Changxing's combat capabilities, and with Lady Meng striking at him and the fact that Lu Changxing and Xianxia had jointly reached foundation establishment in Qingyun market, a conjecture suddenly arose in her mind. If that's the case, then it all makes sense. But this scoundrel had only just broken through foundation establishment at that time. How could he possibly be Meng Yibai's opponent, let alone kill him? Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyebrows knit together slightly. Meng Yibai was not only a core disciple of the Qingyun sect but also had the potential to contest for a position as a true disciple. For such a person to die at the hands of a clan cultivator who had just broken through foundation establishment made it hard for her to understand. The only explanation was that Lu Changxing possessed extraordinary opportunities, secrets, or perhaps the backing of a peerless expert. If it weren't for the matter with Shiyu, he would indeed be a fine choice. At this moment, a thought crossed Yun Wanshang's mind. Initially, she believed that it was highly unlikely for Lu Changxing even to reach foundation establishment. But by now, the other party had grown so much in just 17 years. In the future, he might have the potential for core formation, even reaching true elixir. With the aid of her own spirit-nurturing energy, the two of them might even ascend to golden core together, with a chance for nascent soul. But the next moment, thinking of Lu Changxing's breeding pig behavior, Yun Wanshang immediately dismissed this idea. If she really became Dao companions with him, wouldn't she be pestered to have several children? What am I even thinking about? I couldn't possibly have any ties with such a man. Yun Wanshang took a long breath and discarded the wild thoughts from her mind. Yen Wuyun standing beside her watched as his hall master's face shifted between shades of dark and light, exuding an invisible and breathtaking majesty that made him shiver. You will take responsibility for this on your own, go to Xianyin Cave and reflect in solitude for 3 years. Lady Meng, as an elder of the sect, yet indulging in favoritism and breaking the law knowingly, will be cast into the Xianyin Cave for 10 years to reflect in solitude. As for Lu Changxing, Yun Wanshang spoke of Lu Changxing, her brows faintly furrowed, contemplating how to deal with him. Although she was quite unhappy with Lu Changxing's behavior and felt stifled, he indeed hadn't offended her in any significant way. He had not only saved her but also helped her disciple, Xianxia, overcome her emotional tribulation and complete her Dao foundation. Under such circumstances, if there was no clear wrongdoing on his part, it would seem inappropriate to punish him just because she was displeased with him. Moreover, if the punishment was too light, it would appear trifling. If too harsh, it would be excessive. Later on, if Xianxia found out, she would probably come to plead on his behalf, which would be hard to explain. Since Lu Changxing hasn't violated any rules, just proceed with the usual practices following the regulations. Yun Wanshang mused for a moment and then instructed. Your subordinate complies. Yen Wuyun replied with a bitter face. He hadn't expected to be sent to the Xianyin Cave for solitary reflection over such a trivial matter. The Xianyin Cave is one of the Qingyun sect's 10 major punishments. Every day, one must endure the soul-chilling agony of bone-grazing, soul-refining cold winds within the cave, a true torment. But now, as Yun Wanshang the enforcement hall master had given the order, what she said was absolute, and he naturally couldn't say much about it. After all, false core elder Lady Meng herself had been sent to the Xianyin Cave for 10 years. Yet in his heart, he still couldn't comprehend what exactly was the relationship between his hall master and this Lu Changxing. Surely just being Xianxia's close friend shouldn't warrant such concern and care, right? Chapter 619, Yun Wansheng. Could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? _1, Lu Daoist, we have verified your situation at the enforcement hall, and there are no issues. It's all according to the rules. Therefore, sorry for the trouble, but please come with us. Regarding the establishment of your family and the registration for the record, I will inform the record hall and have it processed for you as soon as possible. Yan Wuyun arrived at the enforcement hall and spoke to Lu Changxing. Being penalized to reflect in silence for 3 years at Xianyin Cave, his face bore traces of suffering, his previous smile no longer present. Just like that? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose slightly, somewhat surprised. The attitude of Yan Wuyun just now had felt strange and unsettling to him. Now, with this back and forth, there was no way he believed that there weren't any issues in between. Great Steward, I have heard that someone reported me for forcefully taking over another family's spiritual land. May I ask who made the report? Lu Changxing asked aloud. Upon hearing this, Yan Wuyun's expression stiffened. It wasn't good to say that it was an elder from his own sect who had engaged in favoritism and fraud. Moreover, he had been involved as well. His mouth twitched slightly as he said, Lu Daoist, such matters are confidential and are not disclosed to the public. However, our Qingyun sect will punish those who make such baseless reports without verification. Please rest assured, Lu Daoist. Yan Wuyun spoke, his voice laced with a bitterness. All right, thanks for the hard work, Great Steward. Hearing this and observing the other's complexion, Lu Changxing did not press on with more questions. He roughly guessed that someone within the Qingyun sect must have reported him, but something must have happened during the process. Adopting the idea that less is more, Lu Changxing didn't want to dwell on it and planned to ask Xianxia about it afterward. Chu Tiange, Zhangtin, please escort Lu Daoist to the welcome pavilion to rest. Seeing that Lu Changxing did not take advantage of his connections to cause a ruckus, Yan Wuyun let out a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Lu Changxing might become an unwanted guest who was easy to invite but hard to send away. Right away, he instructed Chu Tiange and the others to escort Lu Changxing away. Lu Daoist, please. Chu Tiange and the others, who had previously displayed an air of arrogance, now had an attitude distinctly different when facing Lu Changxing. They were also pondering in their hearts, just who exactly was this Lu Changxing? To be treated with such courtesy by their own Great Steward. Thinking of Yan Wuyun's frequent activities up and down the enforcement hall, a sudden realization struck them, and speculation arose in their minds like a tumultuous sea, unbelievable. Thank you, I appreciate your efforts, Lu Changxing said, politely nodding his head to the two and leaving the enforcement hall with them. Even though they had not been very pleasant just now, they were, after all, law enforcement officers. From such people, what else could one expect but their attitude? Meanwhile, at the highest point of the enforcement hall, Yun Wansheng was dressed in regal courtly attire, exuding grace and dignity, looking down from on high at Lu Changxing leaving the enforcement hall with Chu Tiange and the others. Swoosh! An ordinary-looking eyeball appeared. Break false illusions. Yun Wansheng formed seals with her hands, causing the eyeball to glow as ripples flowed from it, shining with a golden brilliance, casting Lu Changsheng's figure in its light. Through the golden eyeball, after seeing through the disguising effects of Lu Changxing and the dust-concealing jade, Yun Wansheng's stunning face revealed a shock. She had been thinking over and felt there must be something off with Lu Changxing. It was hard to believe that someone with an 8th-grade spiritual root could achieve so much in a few years. Therefore, she wanted to use the break illusion golden pupil to inspect Lu Changsheng's condition, to verify whether he had cultivated the ways of the demon path or the heretical path. If he truly had cultivated such paths and engaged in the act of stealing life force to replenish his own, then she would be merciless. But upon looking, she was stunned. Through the break illusion golden pupil, she saw that Lu Changsheng's body was like a flowing treasure, his vitality robust. His mana was upright and formidable, revealing an aura of incisive dominance. How is this possible, magical dual cultivation, both reaching the foundation establishment? And his cultivation foundation is robust, The aura of mana is at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Yun Wansheng was taken aback at Lu Changsheng's condition. 8 years ago, Lu Changsheng broke through to foundation establishment. 8 years later, he had progressed from the initial stage to the middle stage? And it was magical dual cultivation. If Lu Changsheng was a heavenly spiritual root or earth spirit root, she could understand. But she clearly remembered that Lu Changsheng was an 8th grade spiritual root. Could he possibly possess a top-level spiritual body, or even a legendary Daoist body? Yun Wansheng's heart immediately filled with speculation. Aside from a top-level spiritual body or the legendary Daoist body, she could think of no other way a lower-grade spiritual root could cultivate at such a pace, especially since he was also deeply indulged in the pleasures of men and women. Though he might have come across some opportunity, what kind of opportunity could allow someone with an 8th grade spiritual root to grow so much in just a few years? Wait, middle stage of foundation establishment? At that moment, Yun Wansheng's eyes narrowed as she suddenly remembered something. Her senior disciple, Chu Qingyi, had once gone out on a mission to investigate events involving the demon path. During that time, she was pursued by the Xiahou family and was poisoned with corpse toxin. She was saved by a loose cultivator named Han Li. As her master, Yun Wansheng naturally knew about this incident. She had even learned some information about this loose cultivator named Han Li, knowing that he was at the middle stage of foundation establishment and a friend of her disciple Xiaoxia. Now, seeing Lu Changsheng's middle stage of foundation establishment and recalling the upright and dominating aura of his mana, she suspected that this loose cultivator named Han Li was likely Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng left for foundation establishment, away for a year and a half. That period coincides with the time when Qingyi had that incident, so it's very likely that Lu Changsheng's trip was in the guise of the loose cultivator Han Li, traveling aboard the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel to Jiuxiao Immortal City. Yun Wansheng murmured to herself, almost certain that this loose cultivator Han Li was Lu Changsheng. Chapter 620, Yun Wansheng. Could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? At this moment she was utterly dazed. She had not expected that Lu Changsheng not only had a connection with her but also had a bond with her disciple Xiaoxia. And he even owed a life-saving grace to her senior disciple Chu Qingyi. What kind of karma have I created? Yun Wansheng's mind roiled with emotions that were hard to articulate. She had once been afflicted with red phoenix karma fire, and it was because of Lu Changsheng that the curse was lifted, saving her life. Her junior disciple Xiaoxia, practicing the supreme forgetful love technique, passed the trial of emotional entanglement thanks to Lu Changsheng, completing her Dao foundation. Her senior disciple Chu Qingyi, it turned out, was also rescued by Lu Changsheng when facing a life-threatening peril during a mission. No, I must keep Qingyi away from this man. No, she must not have any contact with this scoundrel at all. Yun Wansheng's beautiful eyes showed a firm determination. Chu Qingyi was raised by her from a young age, with sword heart clarity, devoting her heart solely to the sword. Although sword heart allows her to see through people and events with clarity, she is very naive in some areas. She clearly remembered Chu Qingyi telling her that the sword chi of a loose cultivator named Han Li actually resonated a bit with her sword heart and the Qingyun sword technique. At the time, she did not pay much attention to it. Feeling that someone with such a gift for the sword Dao could resonate with her disciple's sword heart, more interaction between the two would benefit Chu Qingyi. But now, she immediately dismissed that thought. She was truly afraid that her disciple would get entangled with Lu Changsheng, leading to emotional complications. If Chu Qingyi were to get involved with Lu Changsheng again, she, as a master, would not know how to handle it. What is all this about? Yun Wansheng felt an inexplicable irritation in her heart. She thought about just killing Lu Changsheng with one strike so she wouldn't have to worry about these things anymore. But such thoughts were just that, thoughts. Not considering her perplexing link with Lu Changsheng. And now he had also saved her senior disciple's life. Although Qiyun True Immortal had given Lu Changsheng a Qingyun order. But in her view, one Qingyun order was nowhere as precious as her disciple's life. Lu Changxing had just left the enforcement hall when he felt a faint, barely perceivable tremor. It was as if someone was observing him. Although he did not have a clear sensation, for such matters, he always preferred to err on the side of caution. Certainly someone was observing me just now. Lu Changxing was convinced in his heart. His divine sense had already reached the late foundation establishment stage. Such a faint sensation could not possibly be mistaken to have escaped my detection, unless it is a nascent soul immortal. Nascent soul immortal, wait, could it be Shiyu's mentor? A pause in Lu Changxing's heart, and it seemed like a jolt of electricity crossed his mind, almost understanding what had just happened. The affair at the enforcement hall had felt very strange, not right to him. That great steward, his attitude towards Lu Changxing, was definitely problematic. But he could not figure out what was wrong. He neither sought help from Xianxia, nor had he shown the Qingyun order. Why would the other party's attitude change so drastically? But if it was related to Xiaoxia's mentor Kaiyun True Immortal, then it all made sense. If Kaiyun True Immortal just happened to be in the enforcement hall and recognized him, or rather, as long as she knew him, the problem would naturally be solved. He knew that in the Qingyun sect, there are only 8 nascent soul immortals on the surface. Based on this number, one can see the status of nascent soul immortals in the Qingyun sect. A moment later, Lu Daoist, I was presumptuous just now, please don't take offense. Once your registration is completed, someone will notify you. Chu Tiange and his colleague escorted Lu Changxing to a small courtyard in a pavilion and told him to wait there at ease. Thank you both for your troubles. Hearing this, Lu Changxing thanked them with a cupped fist gesture. Thinking to himself about this Qingyun sect. They have places for receiving guests. Yet when he previously came to the Qingyun sect for registration, he was not even given a reception and was just asked to wait outside the gate. You are too polite, Lu Daoist. Chu Tiange's expression was no longer as icy as before. He returned the gesture and said. Having said this, he inquired Lu Changxing, did you perhaps offend Elder Meng? Offend Elder Meng? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised when he heard this and questioned the meaning behind it. That would be Elder Meng, Lady Meng. Chu Tiange continued. Thinking of his earlier speculation, he spoke out to hint and establish a friendly connection with Lu Changxing. Elder Meng, Lady Meng. Lu Changxing's brows slightly furrowed, having never heard this name before. But in the next moment, something clicked in his mind. He remembered that he had once killed a Qingyun sect disciple named Meng Yibai. The latter had a false core elder in the sect. As so many years had passed, he had nearly forgotten about this matter. Now that he heard the surname Meng linked to an elder, it suddenly came back to him. He suspected that this Lady Meng could be Meng Yibai's elder. Hee, we still have duties, so we'll take our leave now. Seeing Lu Changxing's reaction, Chu Tiange immediately smiled and took his leave. Thank you both. Knowing that they were hinting to him that it was Lady Meng who had reported him, Lu Changxing expressed his gratitude. But he was still puzzled. How did Lady Meng come to suspect him? Why wait until now to make her move against him? Could it be that my recent actions have attracted Elder Meng's attention? Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly as he pondered. Yet he did not see how his recent fight by Lake Mountain had any connection to Meng Yibai's case. Never mind, I'll think about it later when I go back and ask Zi Xiao and Shiyu. After contemplating for a moment, Lu Changxing let out a sigh, deciding to analyze it later when he returned. Meanwhile, Chapter 621, Yun Wansheng. Could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? Yen Wuyun, wearing a jade crown and clad in a black robe, his face stern, arrived at the record hall to find Lady Meng. Executor Yen, what brings you here? Seeing Yen Wuyun, Lady Meng thought he came to inform her that the matter involving Lu Changxing had been dealt with. She thought to herself that his efficiency was indeed commendable. Lady Meng, I've reported your collusion with me to the Hall Master. Therefore, the Hall Master has commanded. Record Hall Elder Lady Meng. As a sect elder, you abused your power for personal gain, colluded secretly, and framed others. You are to be confined in the Xianxia cave for 10 years to reflect on your actions. Yan Wuyun stated in a loud, stern voice. What? Executor Yan, you can't just say whatever you like. Upon hearing this, Lady Meng's face darkened, and she rose to her feet abruptly. The several record hall disciples nearby were startled by the scene and exchanged glances. Recently, Lady Meng had reprimanded Lu Changxing for blatantly violating the rules and taking over someone else's spiritual land. And now the enforcement hall was seizing Lady Meng, accusing her of collusion. What in the world? The Qingyun sect disciples present in the record hall to handle their affairs were also dumbfounded by the scene, thinking the day's events were quite extraordinary. The decree of the hallmaster is here. Lady Meng, do you intend to resist enforcement? Yan Wuyun displayed an enforcement token and spoke coldly. Although he was only at the late stage of foundation establishment, he had the sect's rules to back him and naturally did not fear Lady Meng. He didn't believe that Lady Meng would dare to lay hands on him in the sect and resist the decree. The decree of the hall master came true immortal. Lady Meng's face turned ugly as she saw the enforcement token in Yan Wuyun's hand. She hadn't expected that Yun Wanshang would find out about her reporting Lu Changxing to the enforcement hall, and that she would order her to be imprisoned in the Xianxia cave. She was over 200 years old and had roughly 30 to 40 years of life left. If she were to be locked up in the Xianxia cave for 10 years, she would not only waste a decade. Given her current state of health, she feared she would lose several more years of her life. Lady Meng, will you not receive the order? Yan Wuyun called out sternly. Because of Lady Meng's wrongdoing, he too had been confined in the Xianxia cave for 3 years, so he held a strong grudge against her and was no longer polite. If she truly dared to resist the decree, her crime would be escalated. She could be directly sentenced to 30 years in the Xianxia cave. Lady Meng received the order. Lady Meng took a deep breath and responded. Chapter 622, Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1, additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _1 Lu Daoist, your family establishment at By Lake Mountain has been recorded and registered. Here is your family token. In the guest reception pavilion, a record hall disciple handed over a token to Lu Changxing and spoke. Many thanks, Daoist. Lu Changxing took the token and glanced at it. Made of green gold, one side was engraved with the 3 characters Qingyun sect, while the other bore the 5 characters By Lake Mountain Lu family. Lu Daoist, since you have established a family under the governance of Qingyun, there are some matters that you need to understand and be aware of, the record hall disciple said courteously to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing nodded and said, please speak, Daoist. First of all, nobles must remember to offer the resources demanded annually by the Supreme Sect. Additionally, when the Supreme Sect issues a command, the subordinate families must comply unconditionally. Of course, our Qingyun sect generally will not have many affairs or commands, but even if there are any, rewards will be given afterwards. The record hall disciple explained the duties and benefits of a family under the sect's governance. In essence, an annual tribute was necessary, and one must obey the commands of the Supreme Sect. At the same time, should any trouble or disputes arise, one could seek the help of Qingyun sect. One could also exchange for celestial materials, elixirs, and cultivation technique inheritances that are rarely circulated in the market through Qingyun sect. May I ask how much the annual tribute will be? Lu Changxing inquired. He had long been aware of the tribute that families under Qingyun's governance needed to offer to Qingyun sect. For families like Qinzhu Mountain, the annual tribute took up nearly 40% of the family's revenue. This was also the reason why families like those on Qinzhu Mountain were so poor. After offering up their annual income, what little spirit stones were left after covering the family's expenses were scant. The tribute resources are assessed based on your spiritual land and the family situation. Currently, the By Lake Mountain is to offer the same amount as before, which is 12,000 spirit stones, the disciple said. However, our Qingyun sect will assign certain tasks to the families under its governance, or occasionally seek to purchase celestial materials and treasures. Nobles can mitigate their tribute offering by engaging in these ways. Moreover, if a noble has descendants who join Qingyun sect and excel within the sect will also grant the family a reduction in the tribute offering, the disciple continued. Saying this, he took out a jade scroll for Lu Changxing to see. It listed the tribute offering situations for families under Qingyun sect's control. Then he found by Lake Mountain, indicating the annual tribute requirement of 12,000 spirit stones. Afterward, he showed Lu Changxing the tasks issued by Qingyun sect and the celestial materials and treasures they were purchasing, indicating Lu Changxing could learn more if he was interested. If a family disciple was in Qingyun sect, they could have the tasks published in the sect sent back to their family. Lu understands, many thanks, Daoist. Lu Changxing nodded. Even though more than 10,000 spirit stones a year wasn't a small amount, it seemed manageable to him. Spending half a month either making talismans or alchemy, he could earn that sum of money. Lu Daoist, do you have any other questions? If there is nothing else, then Su will take his leave, the record hall disciple said courteously. If it were an ordinary person registering and establishing a family, he wouldn't have spoken so much or explained in such detail. But the incident at the record hall earlier had incited their curiosity about who this Lu Changxing was. It led to one of their elders being cast into the Xian Yin cave. Therefore, they were exceedingly polite to Lu Changxing. No further questions, thank you for your troubles, Daoist, Lu Changxing responded while cupping his hands together. He had already been well informed about these affairs. It was just a review at this point. Very well, since that is the case, Su will take his leave, the record hall disciple upon hearing this, didn't say more and left the room. Phew! Watching the other party depart, Lu Changxing looked at the token in his hand and let out a sigh of relief. With this token, the establishment of his family at by Lake Mountain was now confirmed. In time, he could peacefully and securely develop and build up by Lake Mountain. Then he took out the communication talismans belonging to Wang Lin and Zhao Qingqing to send them a message. He let them know that he was at Qingyun sect's guest reception pavilion. About half an hour later, a woman who appeared to be around 27 or 28 years of age, with an elegant and beautiful appearance, a slim and graceful figure, dressed in a pale green long dress, glided over on a vine and descended gracefully. Zhao Daoist, long time no see. Lu Changxing, seeing the person arriving, displayed a smile, greeted her with a salute, and said with a smile, Lu Daoist. Zhao Qingqing looked at Lu Changxing before her, a hint of surprise showing on her face. The two had not seen each other since their 10-year appointment, which was almost 10 years ago. Back then, Lu Changxing was already outstandingly elegant, like an orchid or a noble tree, giving off a refreshing feel. Now, a decade later, Lu Changxing's appearance had not changed much, but his temperament had become even more transcendent, much like an immortal who had been banished to the mundane world. And his whole persona exuded a sense of tranquility, detachment, and confident ease, rendering those who saw him awestruck. Lu plans to establish a family and has come to Qingyun sect to handle some affairs. Thus, I thought to see Zhao Daoist and Han Daoist as well. Though interactions between them had been sparse, now that they had met again, Lu Changxing naturally didn't let the conversation lapse and took the initiative to chat. Establishing a family? Zhao Qingqing responded with some surprise upon hearing this. Although she was in Qingyun sect, she rarely paid attention to outside information. She was unaware of Lu Changxing taking over by Lake Mountain and preparing to establish a family there. But hearing about it now, considering the number of Lu Changxing's children, she found it quite normal for him to start a family. Where will Lu Daoist's family be established? Zhao Qingqing asked out loud. She knew that establishing a family required a spiritual land to begin with. And since spiritual lands were precious and limited in availability, by Lake Mountain, Lu will hold the family establishment ceremony at by Lake Mountain in 2 months' time. Chapter 6:23. Friends reunite, demon cultivator attacks. 2-in-1, additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. Zhao Daoist, if you're free by then, you must come to the gathering. Lu Changxing invited Zhao Qingqing to sit down. Acting as a host, he took out spiritual tea and sweets from his storage bag. By Lake Mountain? Zhao Qingqing was taken aback upon hearing this. She had heard of the reputation of the Yu family of By Lake Mountain. She knew this family had several members who had achieved foundation establishment. But now, Lu Changxing mentioned establishing a family on By Lake Mountain, and she was filled with confusion. However, Zhao Qingqing didn't ask further, and congratulated him with a smile. Congratulations to Lu Daoist for not only achieving foundation establishment and succeeding in the Great Tao, but also establishing a family. I will surely come to the gathering. Her voice was quite wistful. Among the original group of 6, apart from Xianxia, she had the best conditions. A 6th grade spiritual root, a vague body, and even taken in as a disciple by the elder of the herb garden. But now, she was still at the 9th level energy refinement, with a dim chance for foundation establishment. While Lu Changxing had not only achieved foundation establishment but was also about to establish a family, outstripping her by who knows how many times. It's just a bit of luck, a fluke that I achieved foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh. So, the two of them began to chat leisurely. Zhao Qingqing didn't talk much, most of the time it was Lu Changxing speaking. But she would answer whenever asked, and when some interesting topics came up, she would speak a bit more. Knowing that Zhao Qingqing was an expert in spirit plants, proficient at cultivating all kinds of spiritual medicine, Lu Changxing deliberately brought up this topic. He mentioned that his new family needed to be established from scratch and many spiritual medicines had to be planted, asking if Zhao Qingqing had any suggestions. Facing this topic, Zhao Qingqing suddenly became interested. She inquired about Lu Changxing's needs, such as whether the spiritual medicine was for use or for sale, and what the cultivation environment was like. Although Lu Changxing wasn't a spirit plant cultivator himself, as a top-tier second-rank alchemist, he had considerable knowledge about spiritual medicine and immediately spoke of his requirements. Zhao Qingqing was surprised as she listened to Lu Changxing, not expecting him to know so much about spiritual medicine, and the conversation between the two became much more congenial. If Lu Daoist has such needs, I could arrange to obtain some spiritual medicine seeds and cultivation methods. After a while, Zhao Qingqing picked up her tea, took a light sip, and spoke in a gentle voice. Chapter 624, Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1, additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July, Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. After he left the enforcement hall earlier, he felt an elusive sensation of being watched and speculated it might be related to Xiaoxia's master. Now, hearing this, he was almost certain. It must be Lady Meng who, for some unknown reason, suspected him of killing Meng Yibai and thus reported him. But luckily, Caiyan True Immortal had just seen him and had rescued him from danger. It seems, I should properly express my gratitude to Shi Yu when the time comes, he thought. I also wonder if this Caiyan True Immortal could discern my mid-foundation establishment cultivation level. Lu Changxing hesitated. Although he had a jade pendant gifted from a nascent soul immortal sister, able to mask the magic aura, Lu Changxing was unsure whether the pendant could block the divine sense of a nascent soul immortal. At this moment, Lu Changxing missed his misty sky bead. If he had the misty sky bead, he would have no fear of a nascent soul immortal's scrutiny. As he thought of the misty sky bead, Lu Changxing's thoughts drifted to Nangong Mili, then to the child in Nangong Mili's womb. It's been a year and a half, why hasn't Nangong Mili's child been born yet? He wondered. Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. He had great expectations for the child in the womb of Nangong Mili, the nascent soul immortal. But by his calculations, Nangong Mili had been pregnant for a year and 7 months now. Even if the child was extraordinarily gifted, it wouldn't take this long to be born, would it? After a long casual chat, the small gathering dispersed. Lu Changxing originally wanted to visit his nephew Xia Zhaoyang, however, considering the late hour and that he didn't have a sensing talisman for his nephew, he decided against it. He would have Xia Zhue write him a letter later. As he left Qingyun sect, Lu Changxing did not delay. Controlling a purple flying shuttle, he turned into a streak of light and flew towards Bai Lake Mountain. Night had fallen deep. Outside Bai Lake Mountain. "My lord, this is one of the weak spots of our Bai Water Sky Blue Great Formation," said Yuninghu, with a pallid face and sunken eyes, to a man in black robes standing beside him. "It has only been a month since then. Lu Changxing and the others surely haven't altered the Great Formation or redeployed it." The man in black robes looked at the misty and hazy Great Formation before him, formed seals with his hands, and offered up a fist-sized black bead. Buzz. As the black bead's faint light swirled, streaks of black mist, like little snakes, surged towards the weak point of the formation before them. Since he dared to sneak into the family's territory clandestinely, he naturally possessed the means. Chapter 625. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1, additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _4 So, she immediately used a transmission talisman, hoping Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge would hurry over to help. After all, only your own family knows your own affairs. Her body was weak, and she retained merely a tenth of her mana. Previously, breaching the formation had also damaged her meridians and dantian, leaving her in an extremely weakened state. Although she had been treated with Lu Miaoge's Tai True Water. But such healing required a long-term treatment, not something that could take effect just once or twice. Boom, boom, boom. The weak points of the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation were continuously being bombarded. The man in the black robe was obviously prepared, having even brought second-rank talisman to break the ban. The talisman struck down, sending out ripples that twisted the operation of the Great Formation. Rotate. Upon seeing this, Ling Zixiao soared into the sky, sat in meditation above Bai Yun Peak, made hand seals, manipulated the array plate, took command of the Great Formation, and fortified the weak points being attacked with all her might. Miaoyun, you go pacify Lake Heart Island and keep a close watch on the foreign cultivators on the island. At this moment, Ling Zixiao's gaze shifted toward Lake Heart Island and then to a small courtyard, where she transmitted her voice to Lu Miaoyun. Lake Heart Island also housed some foreign cultivators left behind by the Yu family, as well as members of the Lu family from Qingzhou Mountain who came to help with affairs. Ling Zixiao normally wouldn't take notice of these Yu family affiliates, not believing they could pose any real threat. But at this moment, she had to take precautions. "Okay, Sister Ling." Upon hearing these words, Lu Miaoyun immediately responded. Facing this situation, although she was somewhat nervous and overwhelmed, she knew that her husband was not at home at the moment, so as the master of the house, she needed to stabilize the situation. She promptly controlled a flying sword and flew toward Lake Heart Island. "Miaoyun, what's the situation?" A Lu family elder, seeing Lu Miaoyun, immediately asked. "I'm not sure either, but it seems someone is trying to infiltrate Bai Lake Mountain." Lu Miaoyun looked at the condition of the Great Formation and said, "Isn't Changxing at home?" Upon hearing this, the elder was suddenly startled and also became somewhat flustered. After all, those daring enough to launch a stealth attack on Bai Lake Mountain were usually well prepared. If Lu Changxing happened to be absent, Bai Lake Mountain would be in danger. Grandfather Tong, Uncle Fei, with Sister Ling in charge, nothing will go wrong. Lu Miaoyun glanced at Ling Zixiao on top of Bai Yun Peak, bit her lip, and spoke. At the same time, she transmitted her voice. "Grandfather Tong, Uncle Fei, please stay calm on Lake Heart Island and watch over these external cultivators." "Okay." Several Lu family elders heard her and also looked toward Ling Zixiao on top of Bai Yun Peak. Although they could see that Ling Zixiao was not in good physical health. They had seen Ling Zixiao's grace in breaking formations before. Knowing that she was a Foundation Establishment great cultivator and a second-rank array master, they felt reassured with her in control under such circumstances. Merely two Foundation Establishment cultivators dare to attempt to break the formation, they must be well prepared. Which family's power is behind this? Ling Zixiao, meditating on by Yun Peak and managing the Great Formation, observed the black-robed man and Yuninghu trying to breach the formation. Although she had seen Yuninghu before, she couldn't make out his identity now since he was disguising his appearance and his aura had greatly changed. My husband and Miaoge will probably not be able to return in a short time. In my current state, I might not be able to hold out until they arrive. Ling Zixiao looked at the two breaking the formation and began to calculate in her mind. She knew her condition. It was manageable to maintain the operation of the Great Formation for a short period. If it took too long, her meridians and dantian would be under strain and unable to sustain. In that case, I must turn defense into offense. With a second-rank Great Formation to suppress the enemy, and combined with third-rank talismans, killing both of them would not be difficult. It's just uncertain what kind of methods these two have, Ling Zixiao pondered, a serious expression shining in her beautiful eyes. In her hands were 3 third-rank talismans and several second-rank talismans given by Lu Changxing. But in her current condition, having to control the Great Formation and activate the third-rank talisman would require her to make a killing blow. If she failed to kill both of them, it would become problematic. Let's first probe them. These two dare to attempt breaking the formation, they surely have come prepared. Not only have they found the weak points of the Great Formation at first notice, but they also possess treasures that can break bands. After thinking it over for a moment, Ling Zixiao decided to abandon such a risky plan. If her plan failed, everyone at Bai Lake Mountain would fall into danger. She would try to hold out with the Great Formation, hoping that Lu Changxing could come back in time. But seeing that her and Lu Changxing's yin and yang sensing talisman had no reaction, it indicated that Lu Changxing was still far away from Bai Lake Mountain and would not be able to rush back anytime soon. Break. Outside the Great Formation, the man in the black robe continued to bombard the Great Formation with the ban-breaking pearl. Next to him, Yuninghu also wielded his magic artifact, bombarding the Great Formation. She's currently operating the Great Formation at full strength, reinforcing this weak point. You boy, take these 3 talismans and attack the other weak point. If she's severely injured, she won't be able to keep managing the Great Formation, the consumption will wear her down. At this moment, the man in the black robe also noted that Ling Zixiao had reinforced the weak point in front of her, and said aloud, "Yes, my lord." Yuninga's face was dark and sullen as he nodded his head in agreement. As a Yu Family Foundation Establishment cultivator, he naturally knew of the many weak points of his own Great Formation. On normal days, they would arrange more people to patrol around these weak points. But right now, Lu Changxing clearly didn't have this capability. Beyond assigning someone to guard the gate, there were no patrols in other places. Boom, boom, boom. Yuninghu, holding the talismans, turned into a streak of light, arriving at another weak point and began to bombard the Great Formation, intending to create a crack. How is this possible? They seem to know the weak points of the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation like the back of their hand.